I am ready to go, guys. I just brewed a entire pot of this German coffee I bought over Aldi. Popped in a 3 milligram Zin coffee flavored nicotine pouch, right? And I'm ready to go, guys. All right, Vista, you around? You join us?
Yeah, right here. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Pretty good. Had a good had a good week. I mean, nothing too exciting. Had a since last gathering, my daughter had a sinus infection, so she hung out at home, and so I've been catching up with all her homework. I actually just finished doing some homework, you know teaching her how to do bigger addition problems and all that fun second grade math that I haven't done since, well, like second grade. So it's always
Nice.
fun. You know how
Fantastic.
it is teaching kids and stuff, and I think it's really important that I do it with her and she doesn't do it by herself. Oh man. Okay, so let's start talking. How was your week before we begin?
Uh, my week is good. Um, School has been fine. Things are moving along nicely. Uh, had some developments, which I guess we'll talk about a little bit later. I've got some ideas that I'm developing in class. I I'm starting to see, so this year's freshman classes is very different from last year, where the highs are higher, but the lows are lower. And it's been interesting to see kind of develop. So
Hmm.
my goal this week is to I'm going to do a test. I'm going to screw them a little bit on Friday to see how they do and separate the wheat from the chaff and hopefully give some of the chaff a little kick in the pants. So we'll see how that goes. This whole week I've been doing like debate stuff. We've been exploring the amendments 11 through 27 of the Constitution, and then I've been having them
Okay.
debate a question. I've been having them debate a question regarding one amendment or the other. Um, Yesterday we discussed birthright citizenship. Today we discussed prohibition. Tomorrow I'm going to ask them whether or not uh, the the voting age should be lowered to 14. And it's a bit of a trap because they're all 14-year-olds. But what I plan to do is to get them thinking about it is a lot of them have already said like I've previewed it with a few of my smarter kids, and they're like, no, why would we lower it to 14? And then I said, well, why do we have it at 28? Why don't we have it, or I mean, why do we have it at 18? Why do we have it higher?
Right.
Why do I have the
Right.
right to vote? Why do you have the right to vote? Why do we give anybody the right to vote? And then I'm going to go down that road and just fuck with them a little bit. So
Just
that should
just
be
mess
fun.
with them, make them
Yeah, I'd
think
be like,
about
why does
what
anybody have the right to vote? Why don't we have a king? And then I'm just gonna like go
you're gonna be
completely
like. Yeah,
ham.
just tricked you guys,
Yeah.
trying to
The
get you
trick,
guessing.
the trick too is I'm going to, if you guys ask me, I'll tell you what I actually think, and then I'm gonna hit them with Starship Troopers, like citizen service, and be like,
you
now
just
listen, we need to just eliminate the concept entirely.
you're just gonna give her
So it'll
just
be
give her
fun.
the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole
That's
shebang.
that's
But it's been
hilarious.
fun. It's been fun. Like I said, some of the kids I have have got legitimately impressive intellects. I have a couple of essays that I have planned, both for the Partisan and then also Multipolar Press. I think I'm probably going to get them written in October once I have a little bit of time off. But I've actually been sharing some of the thoughts with students, and a few of them have gotten really interested. And one of them, she said, I can't believe you actually like write and do like creative stuff outside of class. I'm like, yeah, of course I do. And she's like, that's so cool. Like, so it's just fun. It's been a good week.
That's awesome. What uh how's your reading of Revelation Space coming along?
Oh, it's coming along very well. Since you told me the other day that you finished it, I've bunkered down and I'm hustling through. I think I see why you give it a 5 out of 4 and not a 5 out of 5. I'm at the point where, like I texted you last night, that the bridgehead is about to arrive at Cerberus. The cash weapons just open fire on Cerberus. So I feel like things are about to get very fucky very quickly, and I'm
Right.
to that. I think the book has done a really good job of kind of building up. But I got to be honest, I really don't like how they ended up getting Sylvester and Calvin onto the ship, because it just kind of seems like it's a little too like Deus Ex Machina for me. Like, oh, the ship just happens to arrive, perfect. I'm totally bluffing that I have a bomb and do what I want.
Right.
But
I mean,
to be honest, I'm not
is he
done with.
bluffing though? That's the
Well, I mean, and I like what they're doing with Sunstealer, and I really like what they're doing with Sylvester as a character. I think I know where it's going to end up, and partially because I got interested in this title because apparently it was heavily influential in the Mass Effect computer game series, which is one of my favorite computer game
Mhm.
series of all time. And if I'm right, I can see where they got some significant plot points. And if Sylvester is going to go in the direction I think he's going to go, it's going to be pretty badass. So I really can't wait to see how it finishes up. But I'll probably
Okay.
finish it this weekend.
Yeah,
That's
man,
kind of my thought.
we'll talk about it in detail. For you guys
Yeah,
listening, we're talking about Alistair, what's his name? Alistair Reynolds' Revelation Space. It's a massive novel. It's a series of three main novels and two kind of side novels and a bunch of short stories. It got recommended to us by friend of the podcast, John Carter. You guys might know him. He's pretty cool. He writes some great stuff.
yeah.
And that got recommended to us. So we decided to read it because I've been jonesing for some major sci-fi, you know. Um, and right now we're kind of stalling a bit. We're giving people a chance to log on. So before I actually start my main topic, um, I finished it and then I moved into a book called um, Chasm City, which is it's like a side quest. It's a standalone novel in the same world as Revelation Space. So, you know, in Revelation Space, if you remember Fisto, Sylvester, and Calvin and all those guys, they're from Chasm City, and
Yes. Yep.
that's where she gets kind of what's her name gets recruited by the
Hurry.
Mademoiselle or
Yeah,
whatever Mademoiselle.
The Madame Mademoiselle, or however the fuck you say that.
It just means like the lady in French.
Mademoiselle. There you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's some French degeneracy. Yeah, I know. I know.
And like by the time you read Revelation Space, the melding plague is going on, and this book happens. Chasm City happens right at the end, like right after, like 7 years after the melding plague. So a little bit before the events of Revelation Space. And at this time, like not Calvin, Sylvester would be on Resurgam already. So that's interesting. I also, to kind of add a little bit of detail before we really get into it, a friend of mine just recommended I start reading this. Another friend of the podcast, I put it on there. Paul Kinsnorth's Against the Machine on the
Oh,
Unmaking of Humanity. And that looks
yeah.
pretty interesting. It just came out, and uh, I was looking at the back cover, and one of the people recommending it and kind of blurbing it was Frederica Green Davis, who writes a lot of Orthodox books, and she writes a lot of those like intro to Orthodoxy kind of books. And
Yeah.
I briefly brushed past her at a church up in Charleston when she was there. She's kind of a little bit of a celebrity in Orthodox book world, so that was pretty interesting. Um, so I got that in my Kindle. I was going to get the hardcover, and it was like $35, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to drop $35, but and I read faster on Kindle than I do in hardcover. And then what I do, I know some of you guys are purists, and I used to be like a Kindle kind of person. Kindle only was what I became for a while. And now I've realized that no, I need to actually buy like hardcover books. And I used to have a massive library. I mean, I had for a while like an entire room in my house was just books, and just I had every book from when I was a little kid. And then I would buy like tons of paperbacks and just random stuff I picked up at like thrift stores, and random stuff I picked up at Barnes and Noble and Borders when Borders existed. Stuff friends let me borrow or like give to me and never take back. And I spent many years doing the military PCS thing, for you guys that know what I'm talking about. And I had to move entire boxes. And for a while, every time I moved places, about 90% of the stuff that got moved was boxes of my books. It was just all my books, and it would take me like a month to unpack them and reorganize them. And that was fun. But let me tell you guys the truth, man, that gets old once you have a kid. So when I was in Japan and I was moving back to California, I was like, yeah, dude, it's time to whittle away a lot of these books. So I went through everything that I thought was like that had no actual like emotional value. It wasn't something my dad gave me, or a family heirloom. I have a bunch of books that are like family heirlooms that like my great grandfather bought like back in Romania, or stuff my dad gave me. So there's sentimentality, and I got rid of all these books. Just I had like tons and tons of like stacks of like crappy science fiction. Had stacks of like those history like magazines, like I forgot what they were called. I forgot, like medieval history, medieval like ancient history magazine. Cool art, but like I just had too much. Just boxes of that stuff. A lot of like gamer kind of like strategy magazines and stuff like that. I just needed to go. So now that I am basically done and I'm settled, I'm not going anywhere. I'm probably going to live here for the rest of my life, God willing. I am going to rebuild my library, and I'm only going to buy hardcover books and novels or any text that I feel like I've read already and I want to hold on to, like that stuff that's worth it, not just random stuff. And that way I can keep everything organized and stuff. Like I have the pretty much the entire collection of like uh John Fowles novels in hardcover, like that I found at used bookstores. And John Fowles wrote the Magus, and he wrote the Maggot and a few other novels I really love. But I'm rebuilding my collection right now. I'm gonna go ahead and redo like my entire office with just bookshelves, and then slowly
Nice.
rebuild it. So I opted to not buy this book in hardcover, and we'll see.
Mhm.
It might be interesting, it might not. The person that recommended the book, well, not the person that recommended the book, but the blurb on the back is Frederica Matthews Green. That's what I'm talking about. So you Orthodox guys might be familiar. I'm sure Mr. McGinty is familiar with her. She wrote some interesting novels. She has a Substack too that's actually really good. Let me go find it for you guys while I'm still
Nice.
stalling before we get into our main topic.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm looking at the listing for Kingsnorth's book. I'll probably grab it. We could do an episode on it. It actually relates a lot to the ideas that I wanted to talk about later regarding the Minutemen in class and
right.
how
That's why I
to.
actually posted it, because
Yeah,
I bought it like maybe like 10 minutes before you messaged me, and I was like, oh, that's
that's
exactly what I
funny.
wanted to talk
That's
about.
creepy.
Uh,
That's creepy. Yeah, and it reminds me too. It relates to some of the things that Constantine talks about when it comes to archaeofuturism and things of that nature. And that's literally what I'm doing with this idea. So
right.
cool. Yeah,
All
I'll,
right.
I'll pick
So
that up at some point.
what I did do this weekend, we went to church like always, because you're supposed to go to church on Sundays, and it was a very interesting day. Our priest did proscomedia. I don't know if you ever heard that. I'm probably saying this word completely wrong. All right. And the proscomedia is a special type of like kind of like introduction. I'll tell you exactly what it stands for. It means the offering. And what what he basically did was he did everything that he does, at the altar before, like during like uh the the pre-liturgy, like preparing the lamb and preparing the chalice and the discus and all the stuff, and doing all the prayers. He did that in the middle of the church,
Mm.
so we could all see and kind of understand what's going on. And it was such a wonderful experience. It was like one of the coolest things I've ever got to do. And he when he was, you know, taking taking cuts out of the lamb, the bread, right? You know, and offering us prayers. He asked everybody to give prayers for the living. So everybody just around the entire church like threw out lists of names. So it was so awesome to hear everybody like just name people that they're praying for and they care about. And then we did that for the dead also. We prayed for the dead. And it was such a
Mhm.
like a very moving moment, you know, like I really it it really like touched me, you know what I mean? Like it was just pretty awesome. And I at first I was a little bit, you know, going in there I was like, I don't know, like I don't know if it's just going to take a long time um and all that, but no, it was just a wonderful, like wonderful experience, and I really loved it. And I actually wanted to start off our main conversation today after we
Yeah,
talked about random nonsense.
sure.
I wanted to talk about. I kind of wanted to continue with the topic of uh, just kind of a follow up for the whole issue with Charlie Kirk and his assassinations. And I don't want to get into the political element, but I wanted to kind of mention the religious element of it for a little bit, right?
Okay.
And I don't know, you guys in the chat can kind of agree with me or not, or I would love your guys' input and yours, of course, also Fisto. You
Yeah.
know, ever since the assassination, and we talked about how this is definitely a vibe shift, a different kind of thing going on. And I have seen tons of people being interested in going to church. I mean, Instagram and Twitter is filled with so much of like, hey, we're going, you know, this is the first Sunday we're going to church in like 20 years. Or I've been an atheist since I was a teenager and I'm going back to church. And it's easy to chalk that up to you know, it's no big deal. It's just an internet kind of phenomenon thing going on. But crazily enough, like my wife has been getting messages from her friends, you know, friends she hasn't talked to in a long time. And, you know, just yesterday, she had a friend of hers, like sent her a long message on Facebook going, hey, I've noticed you've been posting pictures of your church and I'm really interested in going. Can you help me find the right one? Can you point me in the right direction? And this is, you know, she said that these are people that weren't particularly like religious ever or were, you know, more, you know, in the degenerate punk rock kind of circles growing up. And trust me, my wife and I growing up were far from what we would consider religious people in any way, shape, or form, if anybody knows me. And I have just seen this huge uptick in interest in church. Are you seeing that at all in your side of the world?
What I'm seeing is, I'm not on any social media, of course, so I don't pay attention to any of that. My wife is on some social media, and we had some family friends where, you know, so and so was going for the church, and so was going to church, and it was the kind of never expected to see this guy in church. You know, some of those kinds of sentiments. At school, I'm noticing a, for lack of a better term, spiritual sensitivity. I had a remarkable series of conversations today between four students and a teacher where we openly discussed the nature of teaching, the relationship between the teaching, you know, the teacher and the student. And I drew comparisons to the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and how a teacher tries to transmute the love of a subject to the student in much the same way that, you know, the love of the Father and the Son manifest in the Holy Spirit. And again, I'm not a theologian or anything, but as far as I understand it, I see a lot of parallels there. And everybody was tracking. They were like, "That's cool!" Like, you know, they just hadn't really thought of it like that before. Especially the teacher. He's a buddy of mine, and he's a Protestant, and him and I often have been discussing these matters. But the kids like really, you know, kind of dug the conversation, and they tracked what I was trying to communicate to them. One of them I know is a Christian. The other one I'm not sure. But she seemed to deeply appreciate the understanding. to deep, more appreciate the openness to talk about deeper stuff. Um, and I don't know. Maybe it's because it's my fourth year. Maybe it's the nature of the class. Maybe now I have several years of students who talk about me positively, so maybe that helps. But people are more willing to talk about bigger stuff. Um, at least some people are. I'm not so sure how big the vibe shift is, at least where I'm at, because it seems like there's a lot of people who are more than happy to just remain lost on their phones and never pay attention to anything ever. But
Right.
I don't know, man. Like there's like I said, it was a creepy series of conversations that I had today, and I seem to run into the exact people that I needed to run into. So
Right.
make of that what you will.
Well, it's interesting because when I was growing up, and I say when I was growing up, I mean when I was a young adult, a teenager, or a early 20s, even well into my 20s, any type of religious conversation was just basically a non-starter, right?
Yeah,
I I grew up in Southern California, and it just you'd be just laughed out of the conversation if you brought up any type of spirituality that wasn't um I had friends that were very big into history, and they were studying history in college, but we wouldn't only discuss religion in a historical context, really a poor one, to be honest, because at that time we were just mind rotted by our kind of neoliberal historical context and revision that the early 2000s or late 90s, early 2000s had, that we've kind of broken away to. But now we're having these conversations, and I'm running into people that are like highly intelligent in discussing this topic, and it's really interesting. It's really
yeah,
fascinating. And
yeah. The conversation I was having with those kids and the teachers and what I've been having at school, it's definitely more mythic than historical. It's
right,
even typographical, if I may dare to be
right.
a little nerdy. But anyway,
And I'm just seeing people that, never in 100 years would I've ever guessed like they would have any interest in like going to church, hitting my wife up, hitting me up, wanting to talk about this kind of stuff. So I find it fascinating, which leads
yeah,
me into my next point, which is the downer point. Okay.
yeah,
I think after the initial assassination and the tragic event, we went right into this 48-hour period of uh, just this 40-hour period of like everybody's like on the same side, uh, give or take a few schizoid kind of retarded people that I was just like, you're stupid, shut up. Okay. You don't need to make this all about yourself. Everybody was, I would say on the right was pretty united for the most part. And then I go on Twitter, I mean X, right? And it is just filled with fucking retards left and right. And the people that are the worst are religious people, And once again, I'm like, there you go. There you go. In the slop again. We couldn't even get a whole week. And what I mean by that is that right away, immediately, we have, faceless accounts that are arguing back and forth about, whether, denominational stuff like Protestantism versus Roman Catholicism versus Orthodoxy. You got people, just cussing each other out over it, and that kind of stuff. And I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking a lot about that. Right. And so I'm going to, yeah, I'm going to read your post, Arthur. So I wanted to talk about that because it's important. So we live in a time right now where we have come off the failure of the post Enlightenment, postmodernist kind of world where we were supposed to be the Star Trek Federation by then, or at least the beginning of the Star Trek Federation, right? And that has not happened. It is not true. It did not happen, and all the promises of scientific knowledge and all this stuff has not made us happier. It has not made us, it has made us maybe materially wealthier, but it made us spiritually bankrupt. And I think that a lot of us recognize that. I'm not even saying this on an intellectual theological level, but I'm talking on a deep down spiritual level. We know that there is a bankruptcy in our modern contemporary world, right? That we have been severed from the sacred, we have been severed from the mystical, and it is just an unhappy kind of like situation that leaves us like, empty husks, and there's a yearning for it. And a lot of yearning for it sometimes gets filled with, um, some kind of mythological, like, new way ageism. You got people like, having an increase in astrology, for example. There's a whole joke about like, every girl on Tinder or whatever is into astrology. What's your sign? And, doing star charts and that type of thing. And you have all these like kind of explosion of like crystal magic and kind of like neo-pagan type of stuff. You have an explosion of interest in Buddhism and everything. But even that, which was big a few years ago, it's just starting to come empty. People are realizing that even that type of spirituality doesn't leave you fulfilled. It's not true. That's just the truth. So you have people for the first time going, I felt empty. I felt empty in the modernity, and deep down I knew it. And I went into, I went into crystal magic, astrology, occultism, and that type of thing. And that left me empty. It didn't feel true because it's not true, right? It's fake.
Yeah.
And now you have people, looking for stuff, and then of course they hop online, they start reading and stuff, and bam, nothing. They come across a bunch of people arguing about it, because unfortunately the online world is not the real world, right? The online world is where you're looking at reality through just a dirty window. And in the case of Twitter or X, it is a window smeared in like, dog shit, basically, because that's what you get. Okay, you just get dog shit. And that is depressing, right? That is depressing. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna quantify what I'm gonna say. I'm going to quantify what I'm going to say real fast, right? Once again, like I always say, I am not in any way, shape, or form a theologian. I am not a priest. I'm not a member of any, I don't have any rank or value in any church besides just a common layman. I'm a guy that goes, if you guys look at my screen, that's actually my church. It's a picture from this Sunday. I thought it was really cool. I figured you guys check it out, right? And I thought that was appropriate for a topic. Now, because of that, I am an Orthodox Christian, and I've been one since 1983. All right, that's when I was baptized. I was baptized as an infant, so I'm what you might hear people refer to as a cradle Orthodox, a cradle Christian, right? So that was me. But for a long stretches of my life, did not go to church. I did not really care about anything. I just knew the history, and I read, but I did not, I wasn't a very good representative. And to this day, I'm still not. I'm a horrible representative. So what I'm trying to say is, don't listen to me 100%. If you're really interested in this stuff, I can point you in the right direction. But other than that, I'm not an authority. Okay, I'm not Jay Dyer. I'm just joking. Okay, I'm not.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is that fundamentally, when you approach me and you ask me about Christianity, I am going to be like, well, I think you should go to an Orthodox church. Why? Because this, the fullness of the church, blah, blah, blah. We can talk about it some other time, right? But in a situation like what we had last week, and in a situation where we are in the world today, the majority of people are atheist, they're secular atheist in everything but name, right? And when there is interest in Christ, and there's interest in the, trying to find the fullness of the Christ, the last thing anybody needs to know is to wade into a religious denomination war by a bunch of like faceless Twitter dorks. Okay, that's the last thing you need. I am in no shape or form will I ever like advocate for any type of ecumenicism or anything like that, which for you guys don't know, that's like a shared religion. I don't believe in any of that, right? But at the same time, I do take I do respect C.S. Lewis's opinion. When he wrote Mere Christianity, there's a intro section, and I don't know if you've read Mere Christianity, Fisto.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So in
It's
the
been a long
intro,
time, but yeah, yeah, but yeah.
if you remember, in in the intro of Mere Christianity, he kind of talks on, well, okay, we're talking about Christianity, but what about, like, what denomination? What denomination? And he kind of quantifies what he's doing. He goes, well, we are talking about mere, right? Christianity, just mere, very simple, as in Christ, Christ is king, right? And he likes to say that his goal is to get people to come into the train station,
Yeah.
right? And he says, imagine that what this book is trying to do, and everything is, this is a train station, and there's different trains, but they're all kind of going to in the same direction, right? But he's not going to tell you which train to get on. He just wants you in the train station, right? And that's what I think we should do, right? We should say, hey, welcome to Christ. This is what I believe, and this is what I think is the most fundamentally the best, the truest, the one true church. But I'm not going to sit here and down talk and that kind of stuff. And if you look on X, and some of you guys that are more on terminally online than you, Fisto, because you're not an X guy, but unfortunately,
No.
I tend to slither into the X. We're actually live on X right now. I forgot to
Are we?
mention. Yeah, I set it up to
Oh,
where live on
hi
X.
Twitter.
Hi Twitter. Hello, Mr.
Hey.
Musk.
Yeah. Fuck all of
And
you. I mean, welcome. Thanks for being here.
and well, there's a brand of people, and we have them on Substack too. We have them everywhere, and they are basically faceless theologians, with like I don't know, like a cartoon logo or something like that. And these guys know everything, right? And I want to tell all guys that are interested in Christianity, that have any like any interest on it. If you're going to read about Christianity, don't base your knowledge and your opinion on somebody that hides their face on the internet. Okay. I'm not attacking anonymity. Okay. That's fine. But if you're going to preach theology and that kind of stuff, you have to be like the saints. And the saints had no problem showing their faces and standing up to the Romans and getting torn up by lions. Okay. So no, do not listen to anybody that's not official. Okay. So if you notice, the most obnoxious, obtrusive, insulting people from any denomination are always like faceless, nameless kind of people, or like joke names. Okay. You should not, you should not get your theology and your opinion on Christianity from a dude with like a Sonic the Hedgehog PFP. Okay. Like, let's just be honest here. Okay. Because you don't know who they are. To be honest, you don't know who I am either. You don't know who anybody is unless there's some proof, right? So the only people you should be listening to on the internet, and this is of any denomination, is people officially approved by a greater body, like the Orthodox Church, which you can find priests and deacons online and theologians that have books. I am Mihai Eminescu. That is correct. I am a poet from the 19th century Romanian right wing. But I'm not even a really good secret person, because everybody's seen pictures of me and knows I live in, there's not really, I just like that picture. I just kind of kept it. I actually I look better in real life than my PFP. So I'm just joking. But no, there's just like, you should not, like I said, you can find priests online and you can find writing by them. You can find books written by them. You can find, theological, historical books written by people. That's who you want to listen to, people that have been approved. You don't want to base your salvation on Sonic the Hedgehog guy. All right. Let's just be honest here. Okay. And if you guys remember, maybe like a month or two ago, there was that one Substacker. I forgot her name. It was like Sarah something or something like that. And she was posting very authoritative stuff about the Orthodox Church and Orthodox theology. And I was reading her stuff and I was like, man, I'm just not buying it. I'm not buying her at all. So I messaged her and I was like, hey, so where do you go to church? And she's like, oh, well, and then she was like very evasive about it.
Oh
And I was
yeah,
like,
I was gonna say Jason's right. I think you got the name wrong.
Laura London, you're right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Laura London, right? And she was I don't even know if she's still posting. I blocked her a while ago, but she was posting
yeah,
very authoritative stuff. Well, it turns out that I got a bunch of messages from people saying that, oh, she came to our church once. She never even became a catechumen. She never like no, she's not just sus. She's a fraud, right? I have many people tell me, like message me. I called her out and she's not even a catechumen. For you guys not familiar with the Orthodox Church or the Roman Catholic Church, catechumen is basically a person that is basically joined. The first thing you do, you're inquiring. You go to church a few times. You go to church for a month or two or even three or
yeah. You check
sometimes
it
even a
out.
year. Then
Yeah,
the priest
you attend for a while.
officially makes you a catechumen, which means you're officially joining, right? You're blessed, right? You become a member, but a temporary member, right? And then after a period of learning, um, being studying, going through the classes, attending every liturgy, vespers, multiple things, then you finally either get chrismated or baptized, depending if you're previously baptized in a different denomination that the church accepts, right? Because we don't do
Yeah,
rebaptism in the Orthodox Church, right? So for example, a friend of mine who's in the chat right now, he's been inquiring at our church for almost 2-3 months now, and he's still not a catechumen. They have not made him a catechumen yet, right? Eventually they will, but he's been going to all the classes. I don't think he's missed a day once of any of the Orthodox Church, just like the Roman Catholics. I can't speak for them. The Orthodox Church believes that you have to work your way. It's to become a member. It's not just you just walk in, you're like, I'm Orthodox now, or you decide
right.
on oh, I believe in this stuff. That's great, okay. And people say, but all we need to do is know Christ. Well, guess what, guys? Okay, the devil knows Christ too. Okay, the devil knows Christ is king. Demons know Christ. Demons recognize Christ. At Gethsemane, the demon that got put into the pig, they knew he was Christ right away. They never even questioned it, right? They never doubted. They knew exactly who Christ was, right? Knowing Christ doesn't mean you are a follower of Christ, right? And guess what? Everybody on this planet, unless like people in severe self-denial, right, know that working out and jogging, lifting weights and stuff will make you strong, right? That knowledge alone does not make you strong. I know that if I go to the gym for the next 6 months, I'm going to increase my body mass and I'm going to get stronger and fitter and better, and my cholesterol is going to get better, right? That's a fact. I know that. 100%. I have no doubts, right? But I have to actually go to the gym, and I have to go to the gym every day, and I have to lift weights, and I have to make my weights heavier, right? Does it make sense to you guys? Right? Am I making sense here? Right? It's not
Yeah,
about just
yeah.
knowing.
Sounds
It's
pretty
not about
straightforward,
just
man.
claiming, right? You don't just claim something, right? So it's very important for us to realize that people online can claim anything they want, like in the example of Laura London, who even admitted to me after I called her out that she is not an actual member of the Orthodox Church, as in she's not baptized or chrismated. Therefore, they should be quiet. Now, historically speaking, right, for anybody that's attended the an Orthodox liturgy, there's a portion of the liturgy, not always, but sometimes, right, depending on different days and that kind of stuff, where the priest calls all the catechumens forward and blesses them in front of the entire church at the altar, right? And then he says, catechumens depart, catechumens depart. It's part of the actual
Yeah,
liturgy. Well, historically speaking, catechumens were not supposed to go into the actual church. They would stay in the back in the narthex, right? If you look, if you look at a kind of a map of a church, not a map, but a floor plan of a church, the entrance area is called the narthex, where you can see the liturgy, right? but it's usually divided, and there's usually like the church icon in the narthex, right? And they would not come forward for the most part. And I'm talking about like ancient Christianity, early church, right? And when they said depart, what they meant was you're not there. You don't hang out and watch people take communion. Okay. That's for Orthodox Christians, right? They left, and then that's when they went to go to class or went to study or went to do that kind of stuff, right? Now, of course, traditions change and things change, and practicalities of church buildings in different countries outside of Greece and the ancient world are different, but uh, that there's a symbolic kind of idea behind that, right? So if you are not there to partake in the mysteries, right, you're still learning, you're still like earning the mysteries, right? Like you're still proving that you're really, really there to join the body, right? Maybe you should shut up online. You know what I'm saying, right? And we used to joke around. Me and Alexander Helene, the author Alexander Helene, who just did a guest post on my Substack last week, and a lot of people are fans of him on here. I know this. We used to joke that like there should be a rule where like if you become Orthodox and and you should have like a 10-year period where you just don't talk about it. You're just not allowed to post. You're just like stop. Like we don't need, because there's this interesting kind of dichotomy, right? Which I mean, I feel it too. Right? Which is when somebody finds the fullness of Christ in the church, all you want to do is talk about it, man. Like I feel it. I do too. I've been kind of reinvigorated myself in the last year where I really want to talk about it. I've been reading a lot of more books, and I've been got my family to become Orthodox, and I'm catching up with my godfather back in the old country, right? And I'm just like, I just want to talk about it, right? I just want to talk about it, and especially now in such a spiritually, the spiritual desert that we've been living in. It's so beautiful to have a fantastic church and talk about it and invite friends. And that's all I want to talk about, to be honest, right? But it's like the converts zeal, if that makes sense, right? Which is fantastic, but it can also be dangerous, if that makes sense, right? And what I want to ask people, and I ask people this on X. Let me see if I can find my exact post, because I thought I wrote it pretty well the other day. I asked a question to people. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. I said, okay, so get ready for this one, okay? I said, I have a serious question for my Christian brothers, specifically my Orthodox brothers, because I'm Orthodox, right? What do we gain by our aggressive and antagonistic behavior on here? Do you think that arguing nuances of denomination, that insulting each other, that insulting the Christian faith of others is edifying? Do you think your posts will convince the unfaithful, the inquirers, the seekers to walk through the doors of our church? I know a lot of you are new, filled with convert zeal, but I beg you to stop and think before you post. For Protestants, do you think that attacking others for loving the mother of our Lord pleases God? For all of us, do you really think calling each other heretics and other scandalous names will bring people to Christ? Stop and consider. Why are you doing what you are doing, and for who? Is it to glorify Christ, or is it to glorify your own intellectual ego and pride? Before your post, consider what you are actually doing and whom is it for, right? And I think that's important, okay? I think that we have to go, what am I doing here? Calling this Protestant some negative word, right? Is that going to make, stranger that I've never seen before come into my church and find, the true church? No, it's not going to, right? What are we gaining here? Theological debates are one, they're fascinating, they're important, but they're not meant for the public. Okay. I'm all about like having interpersonal theological debates with friends or people that are interested, or, if somebody asked me, Alex, why did you choose this church over, this church? Or why did you do this? I will talk about it. Right. You know me, man. Like I'll sit here and I'll talk about why I chose this church and that kind of stuff. And I've experienced a lot of them, a lot of different denominations. I've read significant amount on all denominations. I've you know, I've read a lot about, non-Christian religions. I spent a lot of time studying that, and I've gone to, Shinto shrines, Buddhist temples. I've gone to, um, also I've seen actual religious experiences. I've seen mosques in action. I've been to Muslim, majority countries, both in the Middle East and in Asia. Like I've been to Malaysia, for example, which is a significantly high population of Muslims. So I have experience with it and I can talk about it, but I'm not going to sit here and just get into clout chasing internet behavior. And I think that's really bad for all of us. Okay. And I think that's bad for all denominations because ultimately, if you truly believe what you believe, your goal is Christ. And you need to stop and say, what am I doing? What am I saying online? And is it edifying of Christ? Is it glorifying God? And I'm going to tell you that the answer. The answer is obvious, right? The stuff I see on X is not it. Okay, it's not it. All right. Um, so what I think for if any of you guys are truly interested in going to church for the first time or finding a church or even just interested in some of the ideas, please message me and I'll point you in the direction where I think I will. I said, once again, I'm going to give the disclaimer that I will point you in the direction of the Orthodox Church. That's what I am, right? And that's what a lot of the people in the chat are, and that's what a lot of our friends are. But I don't have a problem talking to you about Christ in general, and I have no problem, talking about the ideas. And I think that if you've listened to past episodes, we've had Dr. Zachary Porco on here. We had Karis Rides, we had Alexander Helene, a lot of Orthodox Christians that are very much more intelligent when it comes to theologically intelligent than I am. And I think that's a fantastic way to kind of start. I can point you in the right books, but I also have a bunch of listeners. We have a bunch of listeners and readers that are Roman Catholics, and we have a few and if a few Protestant ones too. You guys are all welcome. And I'm sure if somebody has a question, you guys can point them in the right direction, right? So that's kind of that, which leads me into the next kind of conversation point, which is also related, right? Which
Right.
is, I don't know if you've seen this. It's another X thing, but this has slipped into um, Substack also, which is we're going to go back to Charlie Kirk and we're going to go back to Charlie Kirk's wife. So if you guys paid attention to the news, Charlie Kirk's funeral was, I think it happened over the weekend, right? And
Yeah, I think so.
right. So Jason McGinty said, some of us regular people see Orthodox public figures getting aggressive and forget that context that they're often responding to people who first got aggressive with them. Then we think it's appropriate to act that way towards everyone. That is correct. Okay. We need to put things into context and we need to understand that. Now, I can't speak for the other denominations, right? I'm not going to. But in the Orthodox circles online, because of the newfound recent popularity, there's a lot of people that are very new to Orthodoxy and they are approaching the Orthodox Church in the same way that they would approach a Baptist Protestant church, right? And there's a lot of Protestantisms to the way they approach it, and it comes off very jarring to some older Orthodox people from Eastern Europe, and and it's a debate that is internal. There's internal debates about this and internal conversations, and on one side we're happy to have everybody and I want everybody to be that, but other times people need to go, yeah, just take it a little bit easy, because ultimately what we need to remember is that the Orthodox Church goal is to bring you to the kingdom of God, right? It's not to bring you to political supremacy of your right wing political ideas or to bring you to political supremacy of your left wing ideas, right? A lot of people often, when they get involved in political ideas, that becomes their focus. They start missing, they miss the forest for the trees, right?
Yeah.
And
Alex,
they
Alex, can I
Mhm.
can I interject for a moment?
Sure.
Speaking as an American who is currently attending a Orthodox church regularly as a catechumen, um, I think part of the issue is that online behavior comes down to one question: what would Fisto do? Man, Arthur must be reading from our script. Um, but no, jokes aside, Americans don't take it easy. Like, we're just not gonna take it easy. The
No
trick,
chill.
though,
Americans have no
no, we
chill,
have
man.
no chill. No, there is no chill. There will never be chill. Give it another 1,000 years once we've, you know, blended with the Latins and have created some kind of like ethnogenesis balance. But until that day happens, Americans have no chill. The culture has no chill. But the trick is that can be nudged into a positive direction. And I think that's maybe something we need to think about, or that people should probably think about. Because correct me if I'm wrong, don't Orthodox churches kind of take on the character of their of the culture? And I mean, like, you have Greek Orthodox, you have Russian Orthodox, you have, you know, all the different kinds of Orthodox churches, and there's going to be a flavor to each of them. Correct? I mean, it's still
Right. I mean,
the same doctrine, but there's going to be a little
as a
vibe here.
little T tradition, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if Orthodoxy is going to be growing, or will continue to grow as it is in the United States, that character is just going to have to, in my mind, perhaps evolve over time or emerge over time. And, you know, Americans should, you know, recognize that we can't take it easy, but then move forward in the knowledge that we have no chill. And then at the end of the day, Lord have mercy, Lord help me. I'm an American with no fucking chill. And then just let it play out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No. No,
You just
yeah.
gotta,
I mean,
you just gotta,
ultimately,
yeah,
I mean, that's why we're here, right? We're trying to find, you know, to we're all like pilgrims along the way, right? You know,
yeah,
and we need to kind of like aim in the right direction. It's not a competition. And this, you know, what you said and the whole no chill thing goes back to our next topic of conversation. And it's so we had the funeral um for Charlie Kirk, and I didn't watch it. I to be honest, it's just not something I'm particularly interested in or have time for. And you
yeah,
know, I like I said in past episodes, I've never really followed Charlie Kirk or listened
yeah.
to anything he said, or I'm not, you know, it's just not my thing. Um, but one of the things that I did catch was that his wife, I forgot her name, um,
Erica,
Erica, yeah.
yeah,
Um, you know, she in her speech, she forgave the killer, right? And that's probably one of the highest Christian, you know, ideas, right? That we forgive those who trespass against us, right? I mean, that is just like it's in all our prayers, right? And of course, instantly, you know, you have all the pagan retards on, you know, online, getting on Twitter and on Substack going, oh, Christianity is weak and pathetic and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, oh, man, here we go. You know, like this is exactly, you know, like you have like that tranny cat girl Kulak, who's a dude, by the way. If you guys aren't familiar with this person, right? He's a
is that
dude.
actually
He's not a
confirmed? Is that actually
no, he's a
confirmed?
yeah, he's everybody knows he's a dude. He's been on
Oh,
podcasts.
see,
He's a
I have no idea.
dude, right? An anonymous dude that goes by, you know, he uses a girl tranny picture, you know. So there you go. That's what when I think of pagan strength, I think of a guy that hides behind a transvestite picture. Okay, that's who's going to be my pagan spiritual advisor, guys. Okay, um, yeah, but ultimately, that's such a misunderstanding of just the Christian concept of forgiveness, guys.
Yeah,
Okay,
it really is. It really is.
we forgive the killers and we forgive people that do us harm because we are all created in Christ. You know, we like Christ loves all of us, even the worst of us, even the most pathetic, you know, just murderer and criminal. You know, and he is he is sad, you know, that we've fallen away, right? And we forgive them because if we harbor this hate, this disgust, it doesn't hurt them. It doesn't hurt the people that are hurting us, right? It actually destroys us, right? It's a festering wound in our own soul, right? And forgiveness does not mean lack of justice,
Yeah,
okay?
no, no,
It
absolutely not.
it does not mean that we will not defend ourselves. It does not mean that we aren't gonna gonna punish and give justice to the people, right? When my daughter does something wrong, like just the other day, I'll tell you right, you guys right now, right? My daughter's school does this thing where they do, uh, they do like every day they like give her a different color. My daughter's in elementary school, right? She's like young, right? And they give her a color. It's like today you got a blue day, which means like she listened well and followed all the directions, right? And other days it's like yellow, right? And she's like, oh, she kind of talked a lot. And then there's red, which is like just chimped out, right? Well, let me tell you guys, my daughter likes to talk. Okay, she is a social individual. Okay, she's a social butterfly. I am amazed that she can stand through 2+ hours of liturgy every Sunday, and you know it's just amazing to me, right? But she will talk. My like yesterday, we were driving her to dance, and I wanted to count how many seconds of silence she actually is able to do, and she did not go over 15 seconds. Right, like
Mhm.
the most she was quiet was 15 seconds. Okay, and she talks so much, like she'll wake up in the morning and start talking, and she'll talk until she falls asleep, and sometimes she wakes up in the middle of the night and is talking in her sleep. So yeah, let me just tell you that she's not getting a lot of blues, right? Actually, she does get a lot of blues, but I'm not shocked when she comes home and she's like, oh, I got in trouble today, I got a yellow. Well, anyways, yesterday she gets a yellow, and she lied to my wife about it. She kind of like,
Mm.
she kind of fibbed about why she got it. And of course, my wife talks to the teacher every day, so she knew right away the whole story, right? And my wife was upset. She's like, we're not mad that you got yellow. Okay. That doesn't matter. We understand that, like, you're not going to be perfect. I'm upset that you lied to me about it. Right. And of course, there was a punishment. Right. But I forgave her right away for lying. Like, I did not hold it against her. I'm not like, oh my God, my daughter's a liar. And I didn't let it see, I
Yeah.
didn't seethe about it. And I know this is a simplistic way, right, of looking at it, right? It's simplistic way. I'm projecting down basically. But I felt this, I felt this after the Charlie Kirk thing and the Charlotte, um, North Carolina thing with the Irina, I forgot her last name, the Ukrainian girl that got, murdered in cold blood in front of all those people. And I was angry, I'm not going to lie. It's hard for me not to hate these people. It's hard for me not to hate the people that are cheering about the death of Charlie Kirk, or ignore, or are really the cause of the political, socio-political elements that cause, like, uh, our cities to be less safe than the battlegrounds of Ukraine. Like, that makes me mad, and I'm filled with hate. But you know what is that going to accomplish but just fester in me? And it's just going to just be a boil of hatred, and just like, it was tearing me up. And you know what got me, like, going to confession and just confessing that I hated these people. Like, it worked. You know what I mean? And, like, I was sitting there,
Yeah.
it's like, I hate these people. I can't, like, I know I shouldn't, because it consumes me. And my priest said, he said, can you control who they are? No, you can't, but you can control who you are, right? Doesn't mean
Right.
you have to be lenient on them, or, no, it doesn't mean that. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that, justice shouldn't be there. But at the same time, you know, like, I made a big point last week to point out that Tyler, the guy that murdered Charlie Kirk, he isn't some secret agent. You know, a lot of us want to believe that he's some secret Mossad agent or any of that stuff, right? No, he was just a dude that we probably have met before, that almost all of us have known somebody like him. And it's very easy in our secular, demysticized, just fucked up world. It's very easy for us, for anybody, under the wrong circumstances, to slip into that kind of stuff. Okay, because we're not perfect, right? And does he deserve justice? Absolutely. Do the people that you know rot the brains of young people with their ideology deserve justice? Absolutely. Right. uh should I feel sorry for them? Yes. Right, because they're fellow Americans that are confused, lost, and filled with anger. You look at these protests, you look at these protests, and like, remember the Tesla protest from a while back?
Yeah, yeah.
Right, and you
Where
look
they're
at you
blowing
look
up
at
all the
the
cars.
you look at these pictures, and you don't see healthy,
No.
well-adjusted people. You see a bunch of boomers that are just lost. They're lost. They've been brain rotted, one-shotted by modernity.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It's you should I pray for them. That they're so lost, right? And it doesn't make you weak to forgive your enemies. Okay, it doesn't make you weak to forgive your enemies. All right, it makes you weak if you let that fester inside of you. It makes you weak if you let hatred and anger, which are sins, right? Like wrath is a sin. There's a reason why we're supposed to be like Christ, okay, and aim towards Christ, okay. uh but that doesn't mean we don't believe in justice. That doesn't mean we don't believe in discipline. That doesn't mean we don't, like, love and forgiveness aren't just allowing people to do the insanity that they do. Okay, just like the obvious example is, like, if you let your brother who's an alcoholic drug addict and you give him money to buy alcohol and drugs, you're not loving him. Okay, that's
Yeah.
not love. All right,
Yeah.
so justice and discipline and strength are very much compatible with forgiveness. All right, and that's really all that needs to be said. You can spend your entire life reading about the idea of forgiveness from Christ. Now, these pagan guys are no different than the faceless, nameless, fake ortho bros or prots, or uh, trad cats hiding behind Crusader cartoon pictures or Warhammer 40K pictures. These people are not real, guys. Okay, people like Cat Kulak and stuff, they're not real people. All right, they're not your friends. They're not even parasocial. They're characters meant to get clicks and make money off of your anger, your hatred, your lack of forgiveness. And they basically are an irritant that builds that boil. They work for the evil one. Okay, let me just be honest there. When you read their stuff, their hatred, their divisiveness, it doesn't edify you. It doesn't make you a better person. It doesn't make the world a better place. It makes the
Yeah.
world shittier, and makes you feel disgusting. Okay, and we all
Yeah.
know that I'm telling the truth. Okay, and first of
Just
all, they're
wonder,
also
Alex, just wonder, what would they replace this all with? What kind of world would they replace this all with? And I mean,
I,
if they even have an idea, it
a
would be
horrible
some,
world.
yeah, it would be some kind of fucking nightmare.
Right. And you look at and I'm picking on I'm picking on Cat Girl Kulak because he once again, he is the loudest of them, right? And if you look at that individual, I'm gonna pull him up right now on Instagram, right?
Uh-oh.
All right. Um let me see. He states he's a pagan, and he follows Greek paganism, and like all Germanic paganism and all that stuff, and blah blah blah. And you see these guys are always talking about like the Greek paganism, but it's like you're not even good at doing that, my bro, because you know what is some of the greatest, most well known of Greek pagan literature, the Iliad, right? And you're a teacher. I
Yeah.
used to be a teacher, so you're gonna help me out here, okay? Because
Yeah.
I'm not
Okay.
too.
Okay. I'll try. I'll try.
You guys in the chat help me out here because I'm not so well read. I read most of the Greek classics, but it's been a while and it's been like almost 20 years to be honest. But I'm pretty sure that the Iliad's entire thesis, right? The entire point of the Iliad is illustrating how a lack of forgiveness and an obsession with revenge destroyed Troy. All right. I'm right. Am I nailing it there? Because I feel like that's kind of the whole point that
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Achilles basically his lack of forgiveness, his obsessive uh, need for revenge made him fester and destroyed the city of Troy and destroyed the civilization of Troy, which wasn't rediscovered until the 20th century, guys, right? And that's the whole point, guys. Like that idea of forgiveness is there even in the pagan, writings, right? Uh, a few weeks ago, friend of the podcast and probably, one of the best writers on Substack, Librarian of Kelano, wrote an outstanding review of that movie, The Northman, right? And The Northman is a meditation on what happens when people just keep it real and are unable to forgive, right? They're unable to put away their hatreds and their pagan ideas of retribution, right? And it just destroys you. It doesn't lead to a better world, right? It leads to a destructive hell. And that's what we end up with. Okay. It's, the idea of retribution and lack of forgiveness is a very Islamic belief. And look what it does for the Islamic people, right? Where you have fathers killing their own daughters because of inability to forgive and this honor bound kind of insanity, right? Like that's what you get, guys. That's what a lack of forgiveness for your enemies does. Okay. you know so there's a reason why Christ and Christianity is so radical, and it was so radical in the ancient world where it comes from, is because the early Christians lived in a world where idiocy and violence and retribution destroyed everybody. Okay. And it destroys empires, it destroys people, it destroys families, it turns friends upon friends, right? There's a reason why we do this. All right. And it, most of all, it destroys your soul. All right. So when you forgive somebody, you're not doing it really just for them. You're doing it for yourself and your own soul. Okay. And everybody in your own family and everybody around you. So what I want to kind of end this topic with, because it's kind of a downer, I want to end it with that we need to look at the internet and realize that the internet is a fantastic tool. All right. But in a way, the internet is just like the planter in Lord of the Rings. Okay. Or the pool, the well that she shows Frodo, right, where he sees the future. You know I'm talking about? That little water
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
right? And they're great tools, but it is a dangerous tool. And it is a cloudy glass that we're looking through. All right. And we need to kind of push it away and use it sparingly and time ourselves and look down, and then what we need to refocus on is our neighbors and our friends and our family members. Okay. Because if you're sitting there on X and you're just raging about stuff and mad about everything, are you making the world a better place? Are you really bringing people to Christ? Are you doing anything? Right? Are you doing anything that's good? No, you're just sitting here like, frothing, getting mad, slamming your coffee mug on the ground and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So let's I mean, yeah, Jess J, she talks about please correlate the prodigal parable, and the prodigal son is one that we've all known, right? And it's how the father forgives the son that comes back, right? And that's what we need to do. We should love our neighbors, right? We talk about loving America, right? We talk about loving America. We right. You love America. I love America, and I love. I mean, I love the world, but I love everybody, right? I maybe okay, I'm lying. Okay, I try. Okay, I'm far from it. I'm a forgive me, Father, because I am retarded and evil. Okay, but we need to realize that a large portion of our 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 countrymen, our neighbors are sick, and we
Yeah.
are sick because we're living in a festering pool of sickness, right? And there's so much wrong all around us, right? Like pornography, violence, um, ideologies that enable pornography and violence and just all kinds of stuff, right? And we have been told our entire lives that that is just how it is. You just how you deal with it. And finally, after so many, there's like a pinprick, in the in the sky, right? A star is shining, and some people are like, maybe there is something more, right? Maybe there is something more fulfilling. Um, and we need to not turn those people. We need we need to forgive those people, right? We need to um give me a second, fast. We need to like you're looking around. Do you guys, for you guys that have watched my favorite show, True Detective, right? The show ends with Rust and Marty sitting outside the hospital. They're smoking a cigarette, and Rust is in a wheelchair. And they're talking about look how they're looking up at the sky. They're looking at the stars, right? And Marty says something along the lines of like, "God, we're so small and the sky's so dark, right? And these stars are so tiny compared to all the darkness, right?" And Rust Cole goes, "You're looking at it wrong, the sky thing." And Marty goes, "How's that?" And Rust goes, "Well, once there was only dark. You ask me, the light's winning." And then the show ends, right? And for us that are Christians, for us that believe in Christ, right? The light's not winning. The light has won, okay? Christ has already won. There is not in a battle towards the end. Christ has won. Evil is defeated, right? We're just doing like the mop up. We're doing the end, okay? So we have to realize that all those crazy people, whether they're crazy shit libs or degenerate trannies or whatever, right? Insert whatever thing we don't like, right? They are casualties of a war that is over. And it is our job, right, to be the healers, to bring them back, to fix them. Okay. And sometimes, if you've ever worked in triage combat medicine, you know that some people you can't win, right? You're not going to be able to. Sometimes there is no winning. They get put in that category called expectant, where the helicopter is not going to pick them up from the battlefield because it's too late and there's not enough resources. But we still try. We still treat them as casualties, guys, right? So that's how we need
Yeah.
to look at the world, okay? We are doing the mop up operation after a major victory. And the major victory was 2,000 years ago. All right. All right. That's enough of a downer, or I guess positive. I don't know. You can look at it both ways, right?
I think it's
Uh,
positive. I mean, whenever you don't lie to yourself, it's a positive thing. Even
right.
if it's hard, it's better than lying to yourself because at least you know the truth. It actually kind of segues nicely into the topic I wanted to bring up today.
Right.
I don't
That's
know.
when we planned it, I was like, oh, your topic is perfect.
Yeah,
It's
isn't it?
the,
Isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. So, I like what Arthur had to say. The initials are USA, not GDP, and this kind of plays into it. I think to piggyback off what you just said, we need to consider how to bring the Second Amendment into the 21st century. The right to bear arms, the well-regulated militia, right? All that shall not be infringed. And I've been thinking about this at school. So the idea is more actively creating digital Minutemen. And for those of us who are super rusty on our American history, the idea that you have militias that were ready to go at a minute's notice, right? And these are the guys that responded at Lexington and Concord and turned a British march to seize weapons into a straight up rout. I mean, looking at the numbers for that battle, it's like, yikes, the British got thumped. But with the internet and with the information, I've been talking to my students like this, Alex. The gunpowder age was fought with gunpowder, right? Hence the Second Amendment. The information age is going to be fought with information. And with apologies to Alex Jones, it turns out that guy was probably just right about everything. You know what I mean? And with this Tyler Robinson thing with Charlie Kirk, I think about how the assassin and other people like this, they become isolated, they become nihilistic, they become alienated from their communities, they become alienated from their families. Some of the stuff you said last week, remember, about how Robinson's parents were, conservative, normal people like you and me, and yet somehow
Right.
their son ended up in this horrible situation. That's what got me thinking about it, because my students are the exact same kind of thing. My students are the exact same kinds of, people who, if they are not prepared properly for the future, could potentially get caught up in this kind of thing. And it sucks, but at the end of the day, high schools these days are not preparing students for the future. They're just not. And this digital Minuteman idea, this concept is bringing to students, information hygiene. I talk to them about that. I go, hey guys, and I've talked to probably 40 students about this. Some of them are bright, gifted, real smart, Some of them are just, I mean, God love them, but you're not, school is not the best place for you. You know what I mean? And I ask them, guys, have you ever heard of information hygiene? And they look at me like, no, I've never heard of that. Never heard of it. Never heard of it. Tell me more. And I explain, well, it's, you're looking at the internet, you're plugged into the internet, and you got to be thinking about the stuff that you're reading, the stuff that you're watching, the stuff that you're consuming. And especially when there's big events like the Kirk assassination, have any of you guys heard about the 48-hour rule? Alex, no one's heard of the 48-hour rule at the school. And for
Wow,
those of
really?
you who are on, yeah, no one, they're like, what are you talking about? What do you mean 48-hour rule? And for those of us unfortunate enough not to have heard it, it's the idea that in a major event, you really shouldn't form new opinions or opinions about it for at least 48 hours, because information and facts and everything about it is just it's always just such a clusterfuck. You know what I mean? So these are the concepts, these are the ideas. And I've been trying to develop it since. And what I've been working on, at least this week, and I've talked to a few students about it, but one of them I came up with the idea finally. We're living in the 21st century, we're living in this information space. Yeah, exactly, Arthur. There's just, people don't know that we are in a war. We are in, Christians properly understand it as a spiritual war, but we are existing in this neo-pagan reality, this post-Hollywood, post-20th century American culture neo-paganism, and no one recognizes what's really going on. So, this idea is not just to provide tools to people so they don't get one-shotted by all the stuff that's out there, especially once the other 48-hour rule. What's the other 48-hour rule?
Yeah. What is
I'm sure
that?
it's something fantastic. Hence, I would like Matt to explain himself. He's also always good for a laugh. So, but anyway, so nobody really understands the fact that we are in a 5th generation information war, 21st century, right? It's going to be fought with bits, not bullets. And that's not bad. I should write that down. It's going to be fought with bits, not bullets. And I'm trying to think of how to prepare people for it. And also, it provides them with the framing or the infrastructure to eventually make their way back to a human understanding of reality. Maybe perhaps the kind of thing that Mr. Kingsnorth is talking about in his book, where people can bridge back from neo-pagan materialism to, well, Christ in a nutshell. So that's what I've been working on, man. I think a big part of it is trying to figure out what the goal of the enemy is. To try to figure out what the goal of the enemy is, and I think right now at this stage of the game, you got to think of it in terms of actual warfare. And in a lot of cases, operations would be undertaken, land would be taken, territory would be taken, simply to deny the other guy. You know what I mean? So
Right.
and so, the enemy wants this hill. Well, fuck them. They don't get it. And the sheer amount of stuff online and the sheer amount of crap online, it's meant to paralyze people into a sense of helplessness, fear, paranoia. The goal is paralysis. Why do we want people in paralysis? Well, better have them there and not need it than need them there and not have it. Right?
Right. I want to. I am gonna disagree with you on one element. You know,
Sure.
you
Yeah,
were
of course.
saying that the future war is going to be bits, not bullets, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's the future war. I think that we have been in the digital
Oh,
war of
well, sure.
information
Yeah.
for the last 20 years, right?
Yeah.
It might not be
Yeah.
hot.
No, you're right.
It might be a cold war, right? But I think we've been in it, and I think that John Baselius, um, he's right, right? He says in the chat, it's not a new war. It's the oldest war with just the ability to mainline the worst information straight into your brain with no obstacles,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's the
And
fun thing. It's new, but it's not. It's old. It's actually older
yeah,
than any of us can possibly imagine.
it's old, right? And what the goal of the enemy is, it's simple, right? It's the goal of the enemy has been the same since, since Genesis, right?
Yeah.
Which is division from God, separation, right? Violence. What happens in Genesis? What's like right after the Garden of Eden story, right? The next thing, is the first murder, right? Separation from God,
Yeah.
and then the first murder, brother killing brother, right? Guys, it's the same stuff over and over and over
Yeah.
since
It
the
really
dawn
is.
of time, right? And it's now, but now it's more dangerous than ever. It's more powerful than ever because it it we are the closest we've ever been, right? We're reading Revelation Space, which is a big sci-fi space opera, and one of the interesting themes about Revelation Space is the space travel is sublight, right? There's no instantaneous travel. There's no warp speed like in Star Wars or Star Trek where the warp
Right.
drives
No
get you,
hyperdrive.
right? No
Yeah.
hyperdrive, no portals, nothing like that, right? And often one of the kind of the MacGuffins of the novel and its subsequent novels, right? Because I'm reading Chasm Space now, is that it takes up to 20 years sometimes to travel from one planet to the other, and
Right.
often what happens is one character leaves a planet, leaves a world, and they don't get to the new world for 15 years, and in that time frame the entire culture has changed, right? So right now in our world though we have instantaneous communications, right? Back in
Right.
2010 when I was in Afghanistan, right? I was in Afghanistan in Helmand province down south, right on the border of Pakistan, if you guys are familiar with that area. And on our tiny patrol base where we didn't even have a shower, I showered with a water bottle every day. We didn't have any I didn't have any we didn't have any refrigeration at all. I drank room temperature water for 7 months basically, and room temperature was 140 degrees. Horrible, right? um
Hmm.
we we um we had a satellite dish hooked up to a computer, and it was for you guys that are military, you might recognize this. It was called Spa War. It was like a civilian kind of like contractor thing, and we could go on to Facebook, right? So I would go on a patrol, get shot at, like I shit you not, get shot at. Predator drone would fly overhead. Cobra helicopters would fly, and we'd walk back, and I would take off my flocking Kevlar. I would take off all my magazines and put everything away on my rack, and I would go into this little wooden hut we had, and I would just talk to my mom on Facebook instantaneously. Right? Never in the history of war has that ever been possible. Right? I'm talking to that's insane. I'm here fighting a war where Alexander the Great fought. Right? And I actually broke up with my girlfriend from Afghanistan. All right, over Facebook in between patrols. Okay, that's the world we live in. This is 2010. Right now, we're even more instantaneous. Right? I could order stuff off of Amazon in 2010 in Afghanistan. I would order stuff and I would send it to my PO AP address, and I would get a book flown from an Amazon warehouse to San Francisco, where it would get loaded on a C-130 or whatever, flown to Kyrgyzstan, from Kyrgyzstan to Afghanistan, and I would get a copy of Children of Dune, driven up to me in an AMRAP, and I'd have it in 2-3 weeks. Right? It's wild. In a war zone, man. I'm ordering books off of Amazon, right? So we're talking about a level of instantaneous communication that has never unto been known to man. Yet we are so much more apart from each other, right? And that's wild when you think about it, right? Like,
yeah,
we are not closer in a way. Like, this glass we're looking through has twisted our minds. So yes, I like your idea of these digital Minutemen, because we need to take charge of
it's
the
a
internet.
frame of mind. Yeah,
right.
Take charge, exactly.
And it is not like, I'm not one of these people that are like, okay, we're done with the internet. My daughter is not going to be allowed to use YouTube or anything, or the internet or anything. No, absolutely not. Okay,
It's not going to work.
I like what I'm doing right now. Right? Like, we're on the internet right now. I guarantee you there's people from all over the world right now in the chat, right?
It's cool.
Right. But at the same time, we need to learn how to take charge of it and control it. You know what I did? I don't know if I told you, I actually deleted Substack, the Substack app. I deleted the X app, and I deleted Facebook all off my phone. All right. I did all that stuff. All right. I deleted it, right? Because I can't control myself. I'm an addict. I have no self-control. Right. So I deleted it all. So now, like, what I do is, I'm like, okay, I've got an hour to kill and I'm not doing any work. So I'm going to sit down on my laptop and I'm going to go through my Substack messages. Okay. I want to kill some time. I'm not going to just mindlessly scroll on Twitter for 20 hours, or on Instagram, but I can still go on it because I still have the accounts. And if I want to, I'll make it more of a job. I'll make it more of a thing to where I'm actually doing it. Right. And that's a lot better than having it in my pocket 24 hours a day, man. I think that's a good thing. And the other thing I did, and you know about this, is that on Friday, I'll usually hop on Substack and I'll say, hey guys, have a great weekend. I'll see you back on Monday. And I don't touch that shit for 2 days.
Yeah.
All right. Like, I don't touch it for 2 days.
Stuff, man.
And it's been working real well. I've been doing it for a while now. I just haven't really like come out and like admitted it, but it's an idea that, like, I mean, us Christians have it, right? Like, twice a week we fast, right? Today's actually a fast day, right? It's Wednesday. We don't eat meat, and we don't eat dairy, and we same thing on Fridays, and then the Orthodox Church has tons of other much longer fasts, and it's really interesting because they're not about like denying yourself stuff. Right? They're not about denying yourself stuff. It's about understanding your appetites. It's about understanding what controls you, what does that. And I think the idea of like fasting to kind of limit yourself and to control your appetites should go beyond just for us religious people. It should really be for everybody. I think everybody, even if you're like the most heinous atheist in the world, I think you should still fast for at least a day a week. You know, it'll teach you stuff, man. It's important,
Discipline.
right?
Discipline is useful. Yeah.
Right. And it's so interesting, especially like we recently did a long fast, and I just realized, wow, like I do eat so much on a regular day, like outside the fast, right? I was kind of like reflecting on that, where I'm like, I don't really need to eat like 3 meals a day because that's what we do, you know? And I don't really need to constantly like be shoving food into my mouth, or like constantly be like popping like, energy drinks and that kind of stuff. I'm such addict. And, if you guys know me in real life, I'm a freaking hellacious addict. I've got a cup of coffee right now in late afternoon, and I've got another cup of coffee waiting for me downstairs, and I've got a Zin in my mouth, and you know, before I used to do the Zen thing, I was a horrible cigarette addict. Okay. Like so bad about it. Right. Like I was a chain smoker, and I started smoking when I was pretty young, and I was smoking like a pack a day and sometimes more. And I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh man, like I really hate cigarettes. And the truth of the matter is that like I love cigarettes. Okay. I absolutely love smoking cigarettes. I've quit for many years now, but I still dream about it. And it's kind of messed up, right? Like I dream about smoking cigarettes. Like what kind of fucked up shit is that, right? And I
There's
got to
worse
the
things, I
point.
suppose.
Yeah, that's
Ah!
true, right? But I got to the point where I was smoking so much, and my entire life just kind of centered around smoking cigarettes, that I could not enjoy myself. Like I couldn't go to Disneyland. After a while, it used to be where Disneyland in California used to have like a smoking areas. Like I remember there used to be a smoking area over by Tom Sawyer's Island, and where the for you California guys that have been to California Disneyland, there used to be there's a riverboat on a kind of the little lake river place or whatever, and there's a smoking area, and we used to call it the bad parent land, the bad adult land. And I used to go there, and like I needed, like, if I went to Disneyland, I had to go over there and like smoke, and then I'd go on a ride, and I'd get back there, and I'd go on a ride, and I'd go, that's all I did. And then they got rid of it, and then for a while I'm like, I can't go to Disneyland. I cannot go to Disneyland. Like I cannot do a 12-hour day like without a cigarette. That's just insane. I would just die. And I got to the
Yeah.
point where I couldn't go to the movie theater. I couldn't sit through a movie for like a 2-hour movie without a cigarette. That's insane. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I would never go see movies in theaters. And or I would do crazy stuff. And then my wife would just get so mad at me, and rightfully so, where I would go to like Target or, any grocery store, and I would park so far back in the parking lot, like in the in the hitherlands of the parking lot, just so I could walk into the store and smoke a cigarette, and then also smoke a cigarette as I walked out of the store back to my car. And that's and I realized that, dude, that is my life, that I am letting this substance, right, control me, just like own me, like I'm a slave to, a substance. And that's not a good way to live. And that's why I quit. And but
You know,
I guess hmm?
this conversation and what you're saying, you helped me realize something for this program. A lot of people say, or I've seen other people discuss this issue in terms of information diet. And when you were bringing
Right.
up fasting, it makes sense. And I think that's a great way to think of it. But I think that will be a higher level of understanding at the introductory level, at the level of a student, of a younger person. I think I'm going to keep calling it, I'll test with the words a little bit, but I think I'm going to keep calling it information hygiene, because these
Right.
are all veterans of COVID. And I want to do a little bit of linguistic ninjutsu and take their sort of hypochondriac, maybe kind of vibe, and then turn that on the internet, turn that on their cell phones. The
Right.
implication being that if you doom scroll, or waste your time on games and videos and apps, that it's unclean, that it's dirty. You see what I mean? Like, so, and,
Right.
and in a lot of ways it is, isn't it? It's filthy. It's you're basically running around in the trash of necromancer, just the
Right.
digital detritus of the human psyche. That's all you're consuming. And I think there'll be a lot to be said too for a hierarchy of activity. Um, I'm happy to report that I've successfully gotten my screen time down from an average about 3.5 hours a day down to less than 3 hours a day. And I like the fact that the vast majority of my time on my phone is I'm usually reading long form essays on Substack, listening to podcasts on Substack, or I'm texting and messaging with people I know in my real life. Outside of
Right.
shit posting on notes, I have zero interaction with strangers, which I think is
Right.
good, right? I mean, that's probably healthy. And a lot of
It
kids,
is.
I mean, who the hell are they talking to? They got no freaking clue. Snapchat this and Snapchat that. I had a couple students the other day. We were laughing. They were showing me some of the pranks they pull on scammers. They're sitting here just, scamming the scammers back and having a good time doing it. It's like a game for them. And I mean, that's funny, but it's not very clean, is it?
Right. It's ultimately like, I don't know, man. It's we have gotten to the point where even though we're so connected to everybody, we're so distant from everybody.
Yeah.
And you know, one thing I've noticed is that we'll go to liturgy on Sundays, and liturgy is over around 11:30 and or noon, and then usually we have like coffee hour, and we have like a communal kind of meal. Everybody brings different food and snacks and stuff, and more and more I've caught myself that now we don't leave church until like 5 in the afternoon. Right. We don't leave church until 5
Yeah.
in the afternoon.
When I
Right. Like
saw
it's
that, I was like, I am not there yet. I'm not there yet. I'd like to get there, but 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I would be so grumpy because I'd be like, I want to go home.
but we're not the thing is though, we're not doing like church things, right? We're just having conversations with people about
Yeah, I know.
everything.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy because if you would have told me like 30 years ago that Alex, your the highlight of your day, your weekend is going to be going to church, I'd be like, get out of here, guys, right? But here I am, like I look forward to every now and then something comes up, and like, oh, I got to leave early, I got to leave right after liturgy and go do something. I'm just like, I'm so upset that I'm going to miss like coffee time and getting to catch up with everybody. And it's wild because my daughter hangs out with there's a lot of kids in my church, so that she's hanging out, running around, playing and doing crazy daughter stuff. And I'm just catching up with all the parents, and we're talking, and then we'll get caught up in we had a hour long conversation about like True Detective the other day, and just movies and books and stuff. And I look forward to look forward to spending time. And it's because we're so like just thirsty for human connection. We're so thirsty for this lack of like friendship that you get when you're older. I mean, there's I had you know this podcast itself is born out of that feeling, right? Because um when I was young, I spent a lot of time, and if you guys have been fans of the podcast for a while, you've heard the story. I spent a lot of time at coffee shops. And there used to be my favorite coffee shop used to be called Mother Muds in Lakewood, California. And it was on a corner, and I used to go there, and everybody that worked there was really cool, and they're all college guys and college girls. And what they would do is around 10 o'clock at night, like maybe like the place would close at 10 p.m. And around 9:30, whoever was working take would make a fresh pot of coffee, one of those big tall, the big tall like pots, right? The air pots. And they would leave it in there, and they would leave it out on the table outside. And one of the employees usually was one of our friends, and they would hang out, and that was our coffee for the night. And we would sit there sometimes until 2 in the morning, like 2 in the morning, like just drinking coffee and chatting, and we talk about politics and religion and
Hmm.
just everything, and we would do that for hours. And then later on, like, that place went out of business because, probably because we were drinking free coffee all night, but went out of business because Starbucks is evil. And we moved to a different coffee shop in Long Beach called Portfolios. And same thing. That was like our place where I'd go there any time of the day. I would go there, and there'd be some old guys playing dominoes or checkers or chess, There'd be one guy that was doing, he was always doing like he did the Los Angeles Times crossword all the time, and everybody would do it together with them. And I'd sit down and light up a cigarette, and we talk about just whatever was the topic of the day or whatever. And I missed that, And I found myself in my mid to late 30s, and I was like, I don't have any friends.
Mm,
I just don't have any friends. I mean, yeah, I have friends, and I have my old friends, right? But I don't really have any friends, and that sucks, so I kind of like missed that, and I missed those conversations, and that's why I started this podcast, right? The Black Ibis is basically the same thing, right?
yeah.
um but this is still a facsimile, right?
Right.
It's a temporary solution, right? The ideal solution is what I found at church, for example, which is real
Yeah.
friends, and being with each other, and spending time with each other. And I'm coming up with ideas and how we can do more, how we can like create like groups outside of church that aren't particularly church oriented, but with like-minded people, right? um
Yeah.
I think that's so important. I don't know, and we need to just remember that like this is the real world. The people around you are real, and the internet
Yes.
is just a evil mirror sometimes, and I think that
Yeah.
you as a teacher, I think that you are just nailing it, man. I think you're nailing it with this whole thing of teaching them.
Thanks,
If
man.
somebody taught me even the idea of like digital hygiene, which I really like that term, it sounds so
Yeah.
medical
I
in
think it's
that,
good.
if
Digital
somebody
information hygiene.
yeah, if somebody taught me that, I would actually that would have made me think. Maybe I didn't wouldn't have
Yeah.
absorbed it because I was just a little shithole in
Well, sure.
1980, right? But I think even the idea that like you don't have to be constantly blasted in the face by all this stuff. You don't have to accept all this stuff constantly. I think that would have been really helpful to me. You know,
Yeah.
you liked reading The Preacher, which is a blasphemous comic book, but there was another one. There was another one called Transmetropolitan. I don't know if you ever read that one,
No, I
and
haven't.
it's kind of a cyberpunky one, and the main character is his name is Spider Jerusalem, and
What a
he's kind
great
of
name.
a Hunter S. Thompson in the cyberpunk world kind of character. But in this
Spider
world,
Jerusalem. What the fuck? That's so good. Sorry.
in, in
Go ahead.
in this world, there's like ads and commercials, and they're like
Yeah.
nano clouds. And when he's walking down the street, like he gets blasted in the face with like a cloud of like nanobots or whatever, but they're commercials and they take over your brain, right?
Ugh.
And they play ads in your skull basically.
Oh, that's
And
terrifying.
that's the world we live in, and if you remember in Cyberpunk 2077, when you're walking around Night City, everything
Yeah.
is a commercial, right? There's
Yeah.
tons and
Oh, yeah.
tons of commercials, right? You see like ads
Entire
everywhere,
channels
and
of, yeah.
yeah, and that's what we are. We are like an information overload, right? We are like in a babel of massive, like overwrought with just tons and ton of information, and then we got to find the right thread. We got to find the right path, the right like code to, in a way, decode all this mess and put it in the right perspective. And I know the answer to it, but it's a lot more difficult for most of us because we're retarded, um,
Yeah.
including
Yeah.
myself.
It's difficult too because we really underestimate the actual culture that we're in. The other day I was chatting on notes with a few people, and the idea that we really need to think of ourselves, closer to the early Christians of ancient Rome than any other group. Like we're very much foreigners in a foreign land. I mean, I think there's
Right.
some reasonable debate about whether or not the United States was ever a quote unquote Christian country, but whatever it is now, it sure as fucking isn't.
Right.
Whatever it was, it ain't now. Like and again, going back to Under a Silver Lake, guys, if you haven't watched Under the Silver Lake, it will open your eyes to a lot of what's going on when it comes to modern culture and Hollywood and everything like that. Like that is the religion. That is the paganism.
Right.
And the internet and all the slop and everything else. I mean, it's a natural extension of that. Um, Something else I like about the information hygiene and diet hygiene is that it's also going to help me not just create a hierarchy of desirable activities, but also a hierarchy of undesirable activities. And obviously, with young men and pornography, for example, guys, that's basically like injecting cancer directly into your eyeballs, and then have the language to talk about that sort of thing in a way that helps them. In, like you said, if you were a young man and were communicated to in this direction, it may have helped you in a lot of ways. So yeah, I'm excited about this. I'm glad you're digging it, man.
Right. No, it's such a great idea. Now, as we're
Ooh,
getting close to the, ooh, what's up?
sorry. Yeah, no, I had one more thought. This is the thing I'm struggling with. Um, these concepts and these conversations, I want them to be open to anyone that is interested in them, right? But I also have to understand that I am but one humble man, and I've got to prioritize who I share this with. It'll certainly be shared with Debate Club because I think it is perfectly, relevant to them because they're going to be spending a lot of their time researching and talking with people online about these topics, right? In class, I'm probably going to keep an eye out for the gifted kids more so. It's
Right.
probably going to be that. It's probably going to be that bell curve meme with the retard on the one side and the genius guy on the other, and then the midwits in the middle are just basically fucking hopeless. Actually, that makes me think I should probably consider some kind of triage or some kind of triage concept. Because whether we like it or not, guys, in an information war, there's casualties already, and there's corpses walking around everywhere right now. And, you know, Lord have mercy, like maybe someone will be able to pull them up out of that and literally bring a digital Lazarus back from the grave. I don't know. But I'm not going to presume that I have that power until, I do. So I don't know. You see what I mean? Like, what do you think? I feel
Right.
like
No,
I got to prioritize my energy on this. Otherwise, I'm just gonna be, pearls before swine.
I think absolutely. And I think when you are creating an educational system, a like I would say, I don't know, like what would be the word for it? Like a syllabus or whatever. Or syllabus is like
Yeah,
not
a
the right word.
pedagogy,
Right.
digital, yeah,
Um,
yeah, just digital teaching.
when you're doing that, whether it's any of that, I think you need to approach it like an onion, right? Like
Ah, right, okay,
right where the core like okay, let's look at like think about it this way, right? In a way, like one of the greatest things about Christianity, and I'm not talking about like the truth element of it or the actual theological element of it, right? But the practical approach of it, right? Is that, and this amazes me every time I go to liturgy, right? Is that if you are I don't know, a medieval peasant, right? You walk into, a Orthodox church and you can just basically be there and you can find truth there, right? Through the
yeah,
liturgy itself, right? And a lot of the stuff that we do is because it's aimed at people that it's very, on the surface, very simple and approachable, right? Like, I mean, icons, for example, right? They are fantastic tools, right? To teach the word of God to people that did not know how to read, right?
right,
And they show different parts of the Bible and the gospel, and they show different events. They're there for people that cannot read, right? And they also remind you, but they're also exceptionally deep, right? For people that could read, and for people that could have even more understanding of the symbolism and the typology of them and the deeper understandings, right? So you can take your basic icon, and you can be like, you can venerate it, and you can get the idea of it if your IQ is like 75, right? But there's so many more layers to it, all the way really to eternity, if you really want to be honest about it. But that goes with everything, right? Like we do. Like if you look, remember I sent you that picture the other day about what the different symbolism of the censer that the priest uses. Remember
Yes.
I shared,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Like I didn't know a lot of that stuff, and I was like, whoa, right? Like that is so much detail. Like that every little thing like means something, right? But you can still enjoy it as the incense given as an offering to God, right? But
Right.
you can go even deeper and even deeper and even
Yeah.
deeper, right? And I think that the best educators work in that model where you
Yeah.
kind of give, there's an entryway, right? You open up and you let somebody come in, but then there's the next level if they choose to go, and then there's the next level, and then there's the next level, and there's the next level. But at every level they get something absolutely valuable, right? And that's really how, in a lot of times, like in like philosophy, right? A lot of the original first, philosophical works by, renowned philosophers are very difficult to read, right? They're very difficult.
Yeah.
Um, but and if your average person reads them, they just won't get it. It's like, I don't get it. This is crazy. But there's tons of books written about the philosophers and about their ideas that are not simplified, but put into much more accessible language and explain the ideas and that kind of stuff. And those books are almost as valuable as the original works themselves, because you can
Right.
use those as entryways into the ideas. I mean, I recently, I say recently, but it's been 3 years now. I read Moby Dick for the first time. And Moby Dick is a pretty difficult novel by any standard, specifically because of its more antiquated, like 19th century language. And we're not really well understood about some of the theological ideas and the historical concepts around the novel. But it's a fantastic novel. It's a masterpiece, right? But
Yeah.
I read the annotated version, and it kind of gave lots and lots of footnotes explaining what was going on, and it was so helpful. I was like, oh my gosh, I really get it now. I understand what like they're talking about here. It helped me, like it like held my hand, right? And a good teacher, that's what a good teacher does, I think, right? They hold your hand and helps you explore the difficult kind of topics that you might not even know about until you are pulled in through the doorway by that teacher, right? And that's how I think you should approach it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. It melds in nicely with my style, which is to very much differentiate based on what the student is capable of. Um, from the kid who is just kind of happy to be there and who knows what he learns, but I know he's learning something, to the student that I have, I walked to lunch because we got onto a topic that required an extra, 15 minutes of explanation. So just depends.
Right, right.
Nice.
All right, guys, in the chat, I'm gonna wrap it up pretty soon, but
Woo.
let's see some like pop culture fun stuff. See, so I'm reading Chasm Space,
Yeah.
Chasm City, not Chasm Space, Chasm
Chasm
City.
City.
I just finished Revelation Space. I'm gonna start reading that novel that I shared with you guys. Not novel, that text. All right, let me put it back on here. I'm going to start reading that pretty soon. Paul
Yeah. The
King's
King's North book.
North's Against the
Yeah.
Machine.
I got a copy of it on the way. I
They,
think what I'm probably going to do with King's North is I need to finish up Return of the King. And then I think I'm going to revisit That Hideous Strength by C.S. Lewis, which probably partners very well with this book. And I know it kind of popped onto the zeitgeist a few weeks ago, especially when Matt Taibbi and Walter Kern did it on their show. So,
right. Did
but
they
yeah,
do Against the Machine, or did they do?
no, they did. They did That Hideous Strength.
Oh, okay, okay.
So
That just keeps on coming up. Everybody keeps on bringing that up. I've been
yeah,
meaning to do it, and I'm just like, you know what? I need to do it. I did actually want to mention Just Jay on the YouTube chat or Twitter or whatever. She said that from where. Let me close my door real fast, okay? Entertain everybody. I need to close my door.
I shall entertain. Yeah, from where you guys were on your cyberpunk discussions to now, We all have elevated. I'm here for it. Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. And also, you're right, Jess. I'll definitely partner with the parents. Um, I met one of my parents, one of my children's parents, yesterday at parent-teacher conferences. Unfortunately, there was some rain, and that seemed to chase people away. But probably the weakest part of my game right now is getting to school functions. I get to them on occasion, but usually I'm just so goddamn exhausted by the time I get home. It's just, I mean, we joke that we start the podcast at 5 o'clock because I'm an old man. And yeah, usually I this week especially, I've been in bed by 7 o'clock, which it is what it is, I suppose. But maybe it's just a time of being sleepy and being relaxed. But anyway,
Wait till you have a kid, man. If you ever have a
oh
kid,
yeah,
man,
no, I know.
good
Hey,
luck with that.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I know it's going to absolutely suck, but I presume having the kid will more than make up for it.
Yeah, it doesn't suck. It's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
All
I
right.
mean, it's only, shut up, California. You
um,
fucking degenerates. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, you're right. And I mean, again, it's probably just a season. Being chronically ill certainly doesn't make it any better, but it doesn't mean I'm not
right,
going to change. It doesn't mean I'm going to change anything. I'm going to keep going till I'm gone. So,
right.
woo.
And well, what I was going to say is just Jason, from where you guys were on your cyberpunk discussions to now, you all have elevated. I'm here for it. Well, thank you. And I really appreciate
Yeah,
that. And I think that, like I said, I never started this podcast with any intention of, I never really had an idea. Like, I'm not lecturing people. I'm not doing any of that stuff. It's about having a good time with people and, having
yeah,
good conversations about topics.
yeah,
And I learn every Tuesday or Wednesday whenever we do it. I learn a lot from like the guests, and I learn from you guys, and like I find new books to read and new ideas. And I really like, it's an ongoing process. It's growing. I'm not an expert in anything except being cool, right? That's what I'm really good at, right? But but ultimately, like, I'm trying to build a community. I think we've done a really good job of it. And I'm so happy.
yeah.
That
So far, so good. So far, good. Hey,
right.
by the way, speaking of building community, we didn't get a chance to share this last week, which it probably would have been uncouth considering the subject matter.
Right.
But would you like to know the current block total?
Oh yeah, what is the current block total?
Yeah. All right. Drum roll, please. I have
Dun, dun,
currently,
dun.
according to Block Stacked, I have been blocked by 3,278 people.
Oh man,
That number is just hustling, baby.
3,000. I've actually blocked a few people myself this week. Like, just
Nice.
I think maybe because the podcast is getting more popular, but I've been getting a lot of schizos come at me like on old posts. I don't know if like
Oh yeah,
um,
I haven't noticed that.
yeah, like it's old posts I've made. Like I'm just getting some schizophrenic posting, and I'm just like, dude, come on, man. I don't
Yeah,
have time
settle
for
down,
this,
settle down, settle down, settle down.
So I had to resist
All
the
right.
urge to get into it with them because I am a retard myself. I can't control
Yeah,
myself sometimes. And
yeah,
then like I'll start typing up this like schizophrenic reply, which is almost as bad as what they initially started with. Then I realized, well, what am I doing? Like, nope, just
yeah.
block. I don't need to
Now
get
listen,
into it.
listen. It's like think of me as Gandalf, and you're Theoden, and I release you. Like you don't
Right.
have to respond to them, Alex. You just
Right.
don't
No,
have to
you're right.
respond to them.
You're right.
You don't have to.
Right.
You can simply banish them from your realm and be done with it.
Right. And you get these people on, like, everybody that writes here on Substack or on Twitter or anywhere. You get these people like dig up like a post from like 2 years ago and just like chimping out on that shit. And I'm like, dude, come on, man. I don't need your insanity.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like I don't even remember who I was 2 years ago.
yeah, I don't remember what the hell you're talking about. I have to like
Yeah,
reread
what
my own
even?
post. I'm like,
Yeah, I
what
just
was
leave
I
that up there
talking
for
about
fun.
here?
Yeah,
And it's
right.
like I've grown in the last 2 years, or since I wrote this. I mean, I look back sometimes. I look back at some of my old writing, a lot of my old fiction. I'm like, oh, this is pretty good, But other stuff, I'm just like, what am I talking about here? God, cringe.
Yeah.
Like one time I found my old live journal. Did anybody else have a live journal? I'm pretty sure
Ooh.
some of you guys have had a live journal,
Yeah.
right? And I
I bet
looked at
all
my
the
live
nerds in chat
journal
got
and I
live
was
journal.
like, that's gonna get deleted. I went and deleted every single freaking post. I'm just like, this needs to be nuked off the internet, dude. And like, Nobody
Remove.
needs to read 19-year-old like syphilitic
Ooh,
insanity that I posted on LiveJournal and MySpace back in 2002 or whatever, like
yeah,
nope. um but
man.
yeah, it's like, come on guys, but yeah, we're gonna read Against the Machine. I'm gonna read that. I'll talk about it. um
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we're gonna go back to doing some guests. I we used to be guest heavy. We did a lot of guest heavy stuff. And the main reason we haven't been able to do the main reason I haven't scheduled a lot of guests, and I've got a lot of requests from you guys, and I've kind of like reached out to some people, is specifically because I have been so busy and I've been so tired that I really want to do a guest justice. If I have somebody on, I want to listen to their podcast or read their read their opinions and read their essays and stuff, right? So, like for example, whenever I've had an author on here, right, a lot of people go, "Hey, this so and so author is really good. Do you want to have them?" Well, I got to read their book, all right. And I have been just this last few months, I've been just backlogged, and I haven't like I'm not going to invite an author whose book I haven't read because that's just not that's disrespectful to the author. I can't do that. I don't feel like that's good, and especially somebody that's really like has a lot of like fantastic like writing, like for example like Librarian of Kilano, John Carter, all those guys. I've read all their essays, so when I invite them, I like to brush up on their latest essays and make sure I am topical and I can actually talk to them about that. I never have people on here whose books I haven't read. I'll never have anybody on here just to advertise their books that I myself don't think they're either good. So everybody on here that's ever come, I mean, a good example, for example, was Jason in the chat right now, Jason McGinty and his podcast. I listened to it. I will admit did not listen to the entirety of his podcast because it's fantastic. I've actually have listened to since I've had him on, and that episode was just a lesson in the history of Kansas, which I never even thought once. It was fantastic. And once again, I want to recommend you listen to Jason McGinty's podcast on Kansas. But I needed to do him justice. So from the time we decided to have him on to the time we actually had him on, there was a big lapse because I needed to read about it, because I'm going to ask you a question that's interesting, right? I need to come up with good questions. And a lot of times I don't, I have a little Amazon Basics yellow booklet next to me, and I sit down and I write some ideas. And for you guys, we sort of free flow these episodes where it's just kind of like we talk about whatever's on our mind, but I actually take notes, and me and Fisto go back and forth over our Telegram chat, and we talk
Yes, on
about it and
occasion,
stuff.
it's been known to happen.
Yeah. And if you are a paid subscriber of the Black Ibis Social Club, when you subscribe officially, a paid one, you'll get the little Telegram chat. I don't know what's that called, that QRC code thing or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
And
join code.
you can join the Black Ibis Club chat, which some of us are in, and we talk about stuff, and I post pictures of my cups and stuff, But yeah, like that's why we haven't really had a lot of guests on, because I haven't felt that I've had the proper time to really like do justice to anybody. And if I don't mind wasting my time. I don't mind sitting here and talking about myself and listening to Fisto, right? Which is fantastic. But if I'm gonna have a guest, I want to be able to like show you the respect that we can actually have a good conversation. But you know what? I'm feeling the urge to have some people on coming up now, so we'll probably do it. And also, I don't know if you guys know, but around Thanksgiving will be the official end of season 2, right? We will be ending the second season of this podcast, so we're going to be starting season 3, which is I think is pretty awesome that we've been doing it for a while now, man. I feel like we're getting to be veterans. We're like basically like what something like so on that
You
note.
know, Alex, I just realized something. Um, since our cyberpunk episode, not unlike Star Trek: The Next Generation, I grew a beard. So the quality of the episodes has increased the longer my beard gets.
That's
Interesting.
true.
Interesting.
Does
Anyway,
do you guys in the chat even know how me and Fisto started doing this podcast together?
I don't even think we know. Do we even know? Like I just showed up one day and it was like, oh, hey man.
So I don't remember exactly how it started because people always ask me, "Oh, who's your co-host? Who's that guy?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's Fisto."
That's
And
Fisto. You don't know
uh,
Fisto?
Fisto was a guest, an early
Yes,
guest when I was
yes,
just
that's
in.
what it
This
was.
is in the early days of Substack podcasts. I think,
Yeah, this is back.
gosh, this podcast might have been one of the first podcasts on
It's part of that.
Substack.
It's part of that first generation, you could call
Yeah,
it,
definitely first
when
generation.
podcasting began. Yeah, because like you started the podcast not shortly after it came out, and then I was one
Yeah,
of the earlier guests, and despite my best efforts, you
right.
invited me back on.
He never left.
Yeah,
Like
I just like dinged away.
yeah, people like really liked that episode for some reason. I was looking at the download
Yeah.
a metrics, and I was like, "What? Like, thousands of
Well, I
people
think
are
part of what
listening
was
to
funny
this?"
about it, part of what was funny about it, is just I'd been such a raging asshole for so long, and then I'm
Yeah,
just openly on a podcast like, "Hey man, what's going on?" And then everybody's like, "Oh, Fitz was actually kind of cool. Like he's not bad. He's just that
yeah.
way."
It was like my sixth episode, right? It was like my sixth episode. For you guys, my first ever
uh,
guest on this podcast was actually my friend Alexander Helene, who has
yes,
abandoned us. He has
he's
done it.
gone into the desert.
He has gone into the desert. He is, every now and then, I still, for you guys, if you guys are familiar with him and his writing, he, he's been around forever. Like we've been online friends and, we talk on the phone and stuff. We are way back. We go way back before Substack ever existed. And him and I, he had a pretty big Twitter account back in the Twitter days. And he decided that he's like, I'm done with this internet junk. I'm done. And he chose the right option. And then I still talk to him all the time. He's doing really well. And he messaged me
Yeah,
the
man.
other day. He's like, "Hey, I got a guest post for you." And he sent me a guest post, and I threw it on there. And you guys that remember who he was, like, read it, and that's awesome. He always has wise stuff. He's one of the guys that really helped me get back into the Orthodox Church. Actually, like, it was many, many hours of conversation with him that this is many, many years ago, that helped me come back, to the church after my long stay in the Badlands. But he's still around. But he was my first guest, and a lot of the people from those early days are still around. Actually, we got old what's her name over here in the chat from earlier, and there's just everybody. Lisa, of course.
Yeah,
I think Lisa wins the podcast as the most frequent guest we've had besides you.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. She absolutely does.
Which, if you're listening, Lisa, the annual Halloween episode is going to come up, so you got to come on for that one, because Halloween stuff without Lisa is just not the same. All right,
No, it's
we got to
not.
do.
I'm also looking at the group chat. I think Lisa's been on the show more than anybody. And then you got John Carter, LOC, and then Extel Not a Cat. It's like some of the original crew. I don't even remember how we got together. I think it was just we were all just that. I mean, you and me especially. We were just that brand of asshole.
I do. I remember
So
how we got together. I remember
yeah,
how
no,
that chat.
I remember too. But we're gonna keep that in the deep lore. We're gonna keep that in the things to be unearthed by the historians when they dig through our ruined computers and try to
I
figure
remember,
out
like what
what
happened with
caused the
you
end of
and this
everything.
person? Like, well, we just don't talk about that person
Yeah, no, we
anymore.
don't talk about that. The before times,
Do you
before the
remember when I
empire,
did a
before the
guest episode on what was his name? What was that guy's name?
I don't know.
What was that dude with the multitasking, having two jobs at once guy? That grifter.
Oh, Walt Bismarck.
Mm. How I went
Yeah,
on Walt Bismarck's show.
that's right. I forgot about that.
He was actually he
Uh,
was very cool. He was chill. We didn't, because we, like, it was probably the only time I ever, like, did a more, like, argumentative kind of episode. I think in the history of this podcast, for you guys listening, this is going into some deep lore. We've only had one episode where I actually got a little bit aggressive, or, like, I wouldn't say aggressive, but argumentative. And I don't I don't want this. I never wanted this podcast to be like a. I don't want to bring in people I particularly disagree with for the most part on here,
Yeah,
right? Because I don't think like it's not a debate thing. This is not like the old school
it's
internet blood
chilling.
sports from like YouTube
Yeah,
era.
no,
It's like a chill. We're
just
hanging
chilling at
out.
the coffee house. Chilling at the
Um,
coffee house.
and well, the episode I kind of got kind of snippy was when we had he was still cool, no issue. The Muslim guy, what was his name?
Oh, Anuf. Yeah.
Anuf, yeah. And I, like we agree. I'm not a doomer at all, and I'm not a believer in the death of the West. So that's where we kind
Yeah.
of like got into it, and that's like the most you'll ever, if you ever go back through the archives, that's the most you'll ever see me like disagree with a guest, and we disagreed on that, but we've had pretty much, we've had people with very different beliefs than me. We've had pagans on here, and we've had different denominations of Christians where we all got along just fine.
We had a legitimate Twilight Zone episode with that one guy. Gosh, his name escapes me at the moment. But like ghost stories and whatnot.
That was cool. That's
Bruce
cool.
Kelly.
One day,
I'd love to have him back on. I kind of miss that dude. Like,
did he get off of Substack? I haven't seen anything.
No. He's not. No, he's still on Substack. He posts now and again. He's doing his Bruce thing. But I have very fond memories of that conversation. It was just a pleasant conversation. So
yeah,
you gotta bring those guys back. Mark was a fun one. I enjoyed that one.
We still need to do the goth music episode.
Yes. Absolutely.
And talk about In-N-Out Burger. And by the way, I don't know if you saw my post, girl, but there actually is an In-N-Out very close to the Getty Center in California, in Los Angeles. It's actually in Westwood. It's about 10 minutes from the Getty Center because it's right off the 405. So,
speaking of episodes, do you honestly want to do the Black Ibis 250th 4th of July episode? Like,
absolutely.
Episode, like do a live episode I'll come up to South Carolina, man. I'll come up there and
we'll talk about it at the beginning of the year. We'll plan something.
Yeah.
We'll go shoot some guns. I don't own any guns, guys. I don't know if you guys know this. I'm not really a gun owner.
Just like to shoot some cannons at Fort Sumter. That's all I really care about.
Yeah, I don't own any. My wife does, though.
Oh, okay.
That'd
be fun. We could get Isaiah. Maybe convince Lisa to take a road trip down from the.
Well, she's not going to be allowed to. She's not allowed to. No immigrants allowed.
Okay, we'll just have to smuggle her down. It's fine.
Smuggle her out into it. Yeah. And I have met people from this podcast. I met Isaiah. He was a guest, right? We met and we went to church together. That was pretty cool. That was awesome. All right, guys. I think that's it. I think we went serious in the beginning, kind of chilling towards the end. If you're a fan, if you're listening, we always appreciate if you send us a paid subscription. You get all these episodes for free. We work real hard to get them. I get them edited every week. I make time. We've got 4 episodes a month, or not even 5 episodes if it's a longer month. Tons of extra stuff. We're going to do more and more and more and more and more. We're upgrading our equipment. We're upgrading our gear. Hopefully we'll do like t-shirts in the future, because I think that'd be kind of cool to have a Black Ibis t-shirt. I'll just probably be the only one that wears it. People go, what is
I'll wear it. I'll wear it. I'll wear it to graduation and then see if any of the students pick up on it.
Yeah. And then, if we make it one, we should do the little like, the little tag thing, the digital tag that you can just go right to like Spotify or something like that,
The QR code.
A QR code, yeah.
Oh, no.
But yeah, so if you guys want to support us, please subscribe. There is a private Telegram chat that you can come join us and call us gay or whatever you want to do, and give us ideas for new episodes. It's actually like, I thought it was going to be like just people calling me gay the whole time, but it's just we're having deep theological conversation with Jason and all the guys in there, so it's actually pretty good.
Wait, hold on. I got you. There. All right.
See.
I got you. You're welcome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. He for you guys not in the chat, he just tagged me and called me gay, so it's okay. That's
if you join the chat, if you become a paid subscriber, you'll see how I spelled gay. You'll see the actual spelling of the word.
Right. But yeah, So please support us. That'd be awesome. And then also, if you don't have the money and you don't think that you want to support us, the best way to really support us is to like and share these posts, the final episodes. Please like and share them. I would love it if you guys like took 5 minutes to throw out like a quick little like a note restack and just sharing it with all you guys' friends, because the more people the better. That would really help out. The other thing that would really help out is this podcast is basically streamed on Spotify and on YouTube also. And if you would go onto the YouTube channel and like it and follow it, it does raise, the algorithm. Like, we got to fight the algorithm demon, guys, right? And that's how we win, right? So go ahead and follow us on Spotify, follow us on Apple iTunes or whatever the hell that is. Follow us on YouTube, and please throw us a note, like do a reshare with a note. I really appreciate that, because the more people we get, the better. And then in the next week or so, please give me suggestions on who you would like me to invite. Okay. Because I've been really good about that. And I've tried my best to like invite everybody that, you guys recommend. A lot of the people that have been guests have been recommended to me by you guys. And I try my best to like schedule everything. I want to get Dave Green on here. I keep on trying to get him.
Oh man,
just a busy dude.
Dave Green would be so fun.
I want to get a librarian back and
librarian John Carter. Back on. I secretly want you guys to bully Chris Best into coming on the show, only because it would be so deliciously awkward.
Yeah, I'm gonna get well, Arthur, you should just tell him. You should tell Dave, like, Dave, come on, man, go to him to Black Ibis. I've been a big fan of Dave Green since before COVID. I actually discovered his Prester John, he's doing his own thing. He kind of he's kind of gone like moderate. He's been a very moderate dude, and he's kind of like a little bit distanced himself from us. I don't know why. I don't know what his deal is. So I'm not opposed to it. I like him. I read his stuff, but he's kind of going to doing his own thing. He's also inviting that one annoying person all the time on his podcast. You know what I'm talking about, right? And
yeah.
To me, like, if you're inviting somebody that's like, I voted for Kamala Harris, I'm like, well, I don't really want to hang out with you.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough.
What
about Constantine? We should get Constantine back on here again.
Well, of course, right? He's starting his new publishing thing.
Yeah, multipolar press. We can help him out with that. That would be good. And Sudana, we should get Sudana back.
Sudana needs to come on. I need to do all the what was her name? What was her book's name? I don't know, man. I feel like I'm not talking shit here, but I'm talking shit here. I feel like I listened to her interview with him on there, and I was like, she's like, well, me, I voted for Kamala, and I'm like, well, then you just basically told me you're retarded. So I don't really like. I'm sorry. I've lost all interest in listening to you right now. Like, that's just bad. That's a bad decision. Like, I don't think you can justify that. I can't think of any justification for being like, for that. You could say
I think the only thing you can really get away with is stating, I voted for Kamala Harris and I repent to doing so. I repent for doing so. Like, it's just, unless you recognize it was a mistake. And even then, I'd be kind of keep you at arm's length.
If you told me you were like a Stalinist or something like that, or like a Marxist, a hardcore Antifa Marxist, I'd be like, cool, man, let's talk, But Kamala Harris, I'm like, oh, that's a little bit too far for me, No.
If you're a committed hardcore Stalinist and you didn't vote for Kamala Harris, come on down, let's chat.
Yeah, I will listen to you over anybody. I just don't see any logical reason to be honest. I just see that's just bad, right? But yeah, Sudana needs to come on. She was in the chat earlier. I don't know if she's still listening.
Yeah, I saw her.
She's probably out there lifting and fantasizing about
Summer.
The West Coast, being down on the West Coast, Lana Del Rey style, right?
Yeah. We'll have to do the podcast a little bit later, just because
Yeah.
I'm an old man, and she
Yeah,
stays up till 3 in the morning or whatever.
she does, right? Yeah, at least Stalin
At
had
least
an
I'll get
ethos,
an
man.
ethos.
That's right. At least he
Yeah,
believed
man.
in something, you
Now
know?
listen, that bear rug really tied the room together,
Yeah,
and
exactly,
then
right? You
and then
know,
yeah.
but yeah, we need to do that. We're gonna actually my inbox is actually filled with like people like querying to like come on the show. So I'm probably gonna sit down tomorrow and send some
Yeah,
invites.
you
Okay,
should
that's
probably
what I'm
do
gonna
that.
do.
You should probably
Yeah,
do that
I'm
because
gonna
God's
do
no,
that.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, we're gonna do that.
All right.
Obviously authors. You know what we've never had on here. We've never had an artist, like a visual artist. I want to.
Oh yeah.
We've had yeah,
Hmm.
we've had poets, we've had writers,
Think about that.
we've had musicians, we've had like almost everything, but we never had like an actual like
I want to get
painter.
I want to get an architect on here. I want to
That'd
get
be
I want to
cool.
get a I want to get a Ted Mosby on here. Talk
Ted
about
Mosby.
architecture.
You,
I
know
want to
what's
get
you know
Ted
what's
Mosby on
funny?
here. Talk about architecture.
Back in high school, I considered going into architecture because I went to college for art. That's what that's what kind of what I went to school for, and I considered architecture. I was like, oh, I want to design buildings, and I took one of those like like high school have like wood shop or whatever, and I took an architecture. It was like a semester course, and I fucking hated it. I was just like, oh, I hate this class, and like it was all AutoCAD, and I was like,
Oh yeah, no.
yeah, I don't see myself doing this for the rest of my life. I just don't
I remember my
really.
father getting very mad at AutoCAD when I was growing up. I remember him hating that. He took some class for work or whatever, and I just have memories of him being like really angry about it.
Right.
So whatever.
Well, the truth is, I have always been more of an interior designer than an architect. So
Oh, okay.
that's
So that's why you're gay. We finally figured out the reason. It's because you're into interior design. Perfect.
oh, Jamie said there's an Orthodox architect named Andrew Gold. Send me a link, Jamie.
Yeah.
Or Jamie's actually a real life friend of mine. So you can send me
Oh,
a message
nice.
on our other chat, and I'll definitely look into it and invite him. I could
Skins.
always
Second
invite
skins.
I could always invite my priest to come on here. That'd be kind of cool. He'd probably come
Yeah, that would be
if I
cool.
am like, please come. Then we
Please
can
come on
ask
our podcast.
we can ask people, we can ask an actual priest. I mean, we had a
Yeah.
catechist and a theologian, right? We had some very heavy.
Oh, you know what? It looks like he is on. It looks like he is on Substack. Jamie, is it New World Byzantine? Oh yeah, he started. It looks. I mean, I don't know if this is the guy. I'll drop a note in there.
Oh, okay, yeah. If that if that's the person, no, we'll
Oh yeah,
invite
wow.
him. Yeah. Okay,
I mean,
cool.
he started a Substack at one point, but looks like he never did anything with it.
I'll shoot him. Maybe
Whatever.
there's an email or something like that.
Yeah. Bro's got a great
Yeah, oh,
aesthetic.
so he designed our church, I guess.
Oh
I
no
didn't know
shit.
that.
That's
That's
fantastic. Hey.
pretty cool.
Oh yeah, we get that guy. That would be a fun conversation. That would be a cool conversation for sure.
Yeah, well, I'll shoot him an invite. That's actually a good idea. I'll do that tomorrow.
What is your favorite church in the entire world, and why is it the Hagia Sophia?
We're gonna take a pilgrimage. Actually, that's gonna be the long term Black Ibis plan. We're gonna go on a Orthodox church pilgrimage. We're gonna go. We're gonna go to Bucharest and check out that new.
Live. We're gonna broadcast live from the Sophia and declare Constantinople retaken. I think that sounds like a lot of. That'll be our last episode.
we get tossed into a Turkish prison somewhere, and like we're like, okay, sorry guys, we cause an international incident. Great, that's great. I guess we'll just stick to like we'll go to Bucharest and we'll go check out that the new cathedral they built in Bucharest, which is the biggest Orthodox church in the world, supposedly.
Man, I'm so tempted to just burst into the Hagia Sophia and start calling everybody a retard.
Yeah,
shut up, retard. Shut up, retard.
we just
Constantinople, shut up, retard.
We just start chanting. Yeah. which is probably like, knowing us, would probably just get lost on the way. We'd get
Oh yeah,
halfway,
yeah, right.
and then
Yeah,
like Fisto would forget his passport and get deported, and I'd end up in some Israeli prison or something like that, you know? So yeah, but
no fly
that should be
list. We're
fun.
probably on a no fly list already. So
Yeah,
yeah, we'll obviously get our hopes
I'm
up.
most definitely on a no-fly list already, you
The
know?
Bucharest Church
Uh,
sounds cool though. I mean, we can go to we can go to the bastions of
yeah.
Orthodoxy or whatever.
And then we could just we'll go there, we'll check it out, then we'll go drink beer and chain smoke cigarettes in Old Town
Perfect.
Bucharest. We can also go
Perfect.
visit Mitra Iliada's like childhood home too. You know, that'd be kind of
Perfect.
cool too.
Sign me up.
Uh,
Sign me up.
Um, but we'll also, yeah. So we'll invite some people. We'll go on a. I think I'm feeling a burst of invitations coming out for me. So for
Burst.
you guys that are in the chat, you're probably going to get an invite for
Careful, guys.
sure.
It's contagious. It's contagious. Be careful.
Yeah. Alex and Fisto take Constantinople. All right. Yeah, it's that's the name of the bar that we're gonna be taking over, you know. Dude, I
Oh
don't even
Lord.
drink anymore, man. Like it's so pathetic. I had like a one of the guys at our church, cool dude. He invited us out to dinner last Saturday, and we went to a Mediterranean place, and we had I ate a bunch of falafel, guys. I love Mediterranean food. I love me falafel. Okay, and I had like 2.5 glasses of wine, and I was just retarded, dude. I was like, I'm like, how am I
Nope.
drunk off of two glasses of Greek wine? You know, like I'm like,
Yeah.
geez,
When we retire, I like Matt's idea. We should open up a bar in South Carolina and call it the Byzantine. And all of the
that's a
drinks are named and all of the drinks are named for Orthodox saints
yeah, and
and
Emperor
emperors. Yeah.
Palaeologos.
Yeah.
Uh, but then we'd have to drink a lot of ouzo or whatever Greeks drink or raka or whatever.
I see no issue with this. I see no issue with this whatsoever.
Yeah.
So sounds like a
All right,
nice
guys.
retirement.
Good night. Thanks for joining us. That was a wonderful chat again. I hope you guys got something cool out of it. And if you want to read along with me, go ahead and pick up Hawkinsworth's Against the Machine. I'm going to read that
Yep.
next. I'm going to finish Chasm City probably tonight or tomorrow night, and then I'm going to start Against the Machine. So I'll probably talk about
Yeah,
a
I
little
got
bit
that
about
on the way. I got that on the way,
Yeah,
so I'll read it with you.
I'll probably talk about it in the next few days or so. I mean, episodes. We're going to get some guests in, hopefully. And I'll see you. We should be scheduled for next Tuesday if everything is according to plan.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
for now we're going to keep Tuesdays at 5 p.m. our regular time. This week we changed things around a bit because Fisto had parent teacher conferences. Tuesdays works for me because it's like my daughter has it's one of her dance days, and my wife takes her to dance, so I have the house all to myself. So I don't, you don't get any ambient distractions except for the dogs, which my dog's been a lot better recently. She hasn't busted in at all.
Don't
And
spoil it. Don't spoil
I
it.
know she's gonna come in and like knock down my door and blow up the place.
Did you mention me? Anyway,
all the time. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna keep to Tuesdays. When we do the next season, we might change it. It's all about our work schedule, and Fisto, of course, his work takes priority because he is a
indeed.
teacher, so he does have to, deal with
I
students
teach
and
children.
stuff. Yeah, my schedule is a little bit easier. It just around my wife's schedule because she does run her own business, so sometimes she has to do stuff. But we'll always aim for Tuesdays, but we'll adjust. Also, when we have guests, sometimes our guests cannot do 5 p.m. Eastern time. So sometimes we've done episodes where we've had guests that were in like Croatia or in Germany, and we've had guests from Australia that were on live. So we had to like kind of adjust. I've done like Sunday morning episodes, and these were all before we started streaming, back when we were just doing audio, recorded audio only.
Oh yeah.
So we might do like crazy weird streams that are like at freaking 4 a.m. or something like that, and we won't get a huge chat going on then. But I'm open to that, right? That's kind of one of the things I offered the guests. I'm like, hey, I'm open to like, and if you can't make 5 p.m., we will shift things around. We'll try to get you in. So we'll do that. Okay. So just roll with us. All right. This is a party that is never ending. All right, guys. Good night. It was a wonderful having you guys on. You guys have a wonderful night. Keep safe. Keep in mind what I said about, taking a break from the internet and at least, doing a little bit of internet digital hygiene. All right. Information hygiene. Keep that in mind. All right. All right. Good night, guys. We'll see you next week.